All right, well, to kick off this feedback, I'm actually recording this Saturday morning, August 9th, which is just a few days after the last podcast dropped. And this one I'm going to start doing whenever I get a comment on an old podcast. This one's from the very first episode. I think I'm just going to record a sponsor when I see it. I talked about, screenshot it, but then I got to keep tracking screenshots. And while I remember to do that, while I only remember after the podcast drops, I'm just gonna record a response when I see it, and that way we keep track of it. This is the first time I think it's happened where I've gotten a comment on a previous podcast, so probably won't be very common. And hey, this will kind of chop up my recording time a little bit, also. So shorten it, so I'm not spending 6 hours the last day before the podcast drops. I get a little work done in it early, so hey. Mainly though is so I don't forget to, because like I said, I want to address every single comment ever. So we'll see how long that lasts. Anyway, this is from the very first podcast, and this is in Busy 813. I don't like pushing One Piece onto people either. It sucks though because I think most people would enjoy it. It just clicks for people at different points. That's very interesting that you say that. Obviously we're not trying to personally I don't remember how I phrased this in that first podcast. That was 20 weeks ago. Damn, we're almost up to half a year. I do it every other week, so I guess 15 would be 30 weeks, and that's more than half a year. So I guess 12th or 13th podcast we've been doing this for half a year. Already getting sidetracked. Let me focus on the comment. I don't remember how I phrased this. But I don't give a shit what people like. I want people to like what I'm watching so I can get interaction and, actually generate views and shit like that. So I want people to like what I'm watching. But just my everyday life, and for the first, decades that, I wasn't doing a reaction channel, there was no incentive for people to like the same shit I'm watching. I just didn't give a shit. I don't care, right? What people like at all. I'll find something they like. I remember a trip one time. I was going to Jersey, and I was meeting with some investors, and I was also meeting with some friends. And so I met the investors first. And I had a conversation with them where we were talking about the MCU and what they liked and didn't like about the MCU. And they typically liked the MCU. And they had seen the state of comic book movies before that, and they were really into comic books, and so they really liked the MCU. So we talked about the MCU for an hour. It's kind of a preamble to get into the financial talks of them possibly financing a movie and stuff like that. Then I met with my friends the same day, and they hate the MCU. They never watch any MCU movies, and I talked to them about the show Revenge. There was a show on ABC called Revenge. And it was the first season came out during the first season of Once Upon a Time, and the first season of some other show. There was 3 shows that premiered all the same year. I remember this because when they were all renewed for a second season, ABC cut a promo that was like a crossover between the 3 shows. And so I remember the magic of Once Upon a Time merged into Revenge, which then merged into whatever the hell the third show was, which I don't remember. It was something I don't watch. But anyway, so I was able to talk about the MCU with one group of people and Revenge with another group of people in the same day, and had a blast both times. So people like something. I guess you get the occasional weirdo who just does not watch anything ever. I don't watch shit. I don't watch TV. Or maybe here's one I really like. Nitwits. The egotistical, elitist, snob, nitwit morons. Especially in this day and age. It was annoying back in the 80s. When TV was much more coarse and just not varied. And, back in the 80s people would say this. I remember my friend's parents had this. They said this. We only watch TV for the documentaries. Yeah. Documentaries. Those are realistic. Those are real. Those are well researched. Some are. But just because it's nonfiction doesn't make it any more true than Airwolf. You can watch a documentary about the I almost said Bay Harbor Butcher, but he's fictional. Who's that dude in the plane? DB Cooper. You can watch. This guy debunked a documentary about DB Cooper in 1981. You know, it was less than 10 years after he had done the hijacking, and it was so inaccurate. It was one of the most inaccurate things out there. It was an official PBS documentary that aired on a network TV in 1981 that should have standards and practices. And in 1981, you had a high level of journalism back then. And this documentary had, like, it was like a 2-hour video. He was poking all these holes in this documentary that was completely inaccurate, right? But yeah, you know, this non-fiction documentaries, that's the only shit I watch. Because I'm an elitist scumbag. And I'm better than you. Because I don't watch TV, right? You know, I think that has finally died. Like, because TV is just everywhere. It's on your phones. It's everywhere. It's in restaurants. And just, you're inundated. I don't know that there is a person walking around now who will say they don't watch TV. But man, that used to be common. So, how the hell did I get off on that? Oh, everybody likes something. Like, everybody likes something. So, as you move through your day, and say you have to engage in small talk with somebody, say you're sitting on a train with them, you're stuck in an elevator with them, or you're trying to get to know them, or you want to transact some kind of business with them, whatever it is, you can find a common frame of reference to have a conversation with them about something. I can. I'm very good at that. I'm very good at pulling out what somebody likes and having a conversation with them about that. You know, because there's nothing worse than you talking to somebody about something they don't care about. So what I do is I find something they care about that I also care about or can at least talk about. Like, for instance, say they like basketball. I don't watch basketball anymore, NBA basketball, but I used to. So I have enough foundation. I know how the game is played. I know the ins and outs of it. I know the history of it because I used to watch it in the 90s, right? So we can talk about that for hours, even though I don't currently watch it, you know? And so I will find something to talk about. This is why I was so good with networking and you know, investors and stuff, is because I don't have much in common with investors, but I can make us have something in common. You know, because these are rich people. Some of them have been rich all their lives. Some of them have very bizarre lifestyles. I can make something in common with. There's something. They watch TV sometimes. We can find something to talk about. So, because that's my approach, because my approach to networking and building relationships with people so you can potentially work, you know, conduct business with each other. My approach to that is, let's find something that you already like that I can at least talk about, maybe I like as well. And then we'll have this conversation about this. And then we have something in common. And then we can segue from that into the business that we're doing. You know, because it's like, you need that. You need that foundation of, hey, we both like basketball. Hey, we both like Snow White. Hey, we both like the MCU. Hey, we both like revenge. You need something. And then you have a comfort level. You're not awkward around the person, right? Like, and that's step one. And then you can build it from there, right? Then we all have the common things we all have, where it's like, oh, crazy drivers, women be shopping, you know. There's the normal things people can talk about that just everybody has in frame. CVS's receipts are 2 miles long, right? There's all of these normal things you can talk about with people, but you have to have that first foundation of, here's something you like, and we had a conversation about it. Now we have, you know, now we have common ground. If we disagree. Because that conversation about revenge, they disagree with the point I made, but we can still talk about it, right? So, because of that, I've never tried to get somebody into something that I'm into so that I could then have something in common with them. Which I think is really what we're doing here when we're trying to get people into shows. There's probably several motivations for why you try to get somebody into a show. You know, hey, I think you should watch One Piece. Some of it is you like this person. It's almost like a blind date situation. This single person you know and this single person you know have orientations that match each other, and they have common interests. They're a similar age. You think they would get on, so you try to make this shit happen. You should be minding your own goddamn business, but you know, you're going to try to make this shit happen. So you're going to try to set up a blind date or somehow invite them both to a party and hope they mix, right? Which is probably much better way to do it than a blind date. But this is that for like TV shows. Like you know this person likes Lost. They like comic book movies. They like X-Files, like shows that have a lot of character comedy in them. Like there's a lot of character comedy baked into X-Files. And so if they like these three things, and then they like the supernatural, they like supernatural shows and ghosts and powers and all that kind of stuff, then you think they'd like One Piece. Like they like Pirates of the Caribbean. That has like the magic in it. It's interesting. Pirates of the Caribbean has piracy and magic. I never thought about this before. Pirates of the Caribbean actually is a pretty good analog for One Piece. If somebody likes the first Pirates of the Caribbean, we're not talking about the shitty sequels. If somebody likes the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they would love One Piece. There is actually a lot of commonality there. There's a character comedy. There's a different character motivations. There's different factions. There's the supernatural aspect. People have powers. You got a deep rooted backstory that they don't even all get into in the first movie. Then you have the piracy. You have the adventure, the comedy. There is a lot of parallels between Pirates of the Caribbean. Probably on some level, maybe not because like anime just wasn't as common back then. But it's possible that the creators of Pirates of the Caribbean were inspired by One Piece. Yeah, never thought about that. But anyway, if they really love the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, you think they would love One Piece. So there's that motivation. There is the motivation of, hey, I like this person, and this would enrich their life. They would enjoy this. They're always looking for something to watch, and this gives them something to watch for a really long time. So there's that motivation. But I think a lot more often, you want somebody that you already know and like to be able to talk to this thing about, And so that's the motivation of, I want to convert this person. It's like, a missionary thing. Like, you're basically evangelical. You're an evangelist. What is the other tense of evangelist? Evangelical. You change the pronunciation. That's why I couldn't wrap my mind around. You're evangelical about this shit, right? So it could be like, it could also be that like you're just passionate about this thing and you believe everybody should have, just like with you believe religion would enrich their life and give meaning to their life. So in this way, like in kind of similar way, you think One Piece would enrich your life and give meaning to their life, or it's just something they can enjoy. They're always looking for something to watch, and so you push it on it, right? Just the way I am, I want to find something that's already there rather than try to convert them to my religion, essentially. I'll rather just talk to them about their religion that they already have than bring them over to my religion. That's kind of always my thing. So I don't really, for the most part, try to get people to watch shit. Though I sometimes do, because, no person is just a monolith. No person is all one thing. So, for instance, I really liked the first season of Wednesday. I've already reacted to the first episode of season 2 of Wednesday, which, it was a little hit or miss for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to react to the rest of it. Nobody's sponsored it or anything. So that'll just be something if I have time, which I have so little of. But I remember when the first season came out and I'd watched it, like I just was really trying to get everybody I knew to watch it because I thought they would really like it. The people that I knew would like it, right? So yeah, I can fall prey to that. But I haven't, in the 2 years I've been liking and watching and really enjoying One Piece, I haven't tried to get anybody to watch it. Because first of all, I know it's a large time investment. And second of all, it's something where I think before you really get into the magic, before you really get into the lore and the world building and maybe even the comedy, you have to fall in love with the characters. That's the only thing that carries you through 1100. Like, if I didn't fall in love with the characters, no amount of mystery and plot and magic and adventure and world building would have ever gotten me through this. You have to fall in love with the characters. And I don't know that everybody would. I think there are some people would really find Luffy annoying. He's incurious, and that's something like in real life, if somebody's incurious, I have almost no use for them. If they're not curious about the world around them, they're not curious to learn new things, and they're bored when you try to explain the history of something, I have nothing in common with these people. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to spend time with them. It's a massive turnoff for me. You know, it's just somebody who just doesn't give a shit. That's Luffy. He doesn't give a shit about anything but what's right in front of him. Very simple concepts. He doesn't want to know the backstory of anything. He just wants to live in the moment. And that's great. And I actually have fallen in love with him, so I appreciate that about him. But if this was real life, he'd be the person I'd talk to the least. I would want nothing to do with him. I mean, he's very empathetic and kind and loyal, and he'll protect weaker people. Those are all very admirable qualities. But on a personal level, just interacting with somebody and enjoying spending your time with them, I would not want to spend any time with him because he just has no curiosity. So that would be a turnoff for a lot of people. Sanji would definitely be a turnoff for a lot of people. Even Zoro could be annoying to a certain kind of person. So, and Nami, you know, really early on, she was very unlikable. Like, I didn't like her until the end of the Arlong arc, right? When she stole the ship and just took off, I was pissed. I had a rant. You know, I put her face on the screen and ranted and everything. So, did not like her. So these people are not necessarily like her. I think the first character who's like just instantly likable as soon as you meet him is Chopper. Yeah, so before that, man, like, I don't know. It may be hard for people to fall in love with him. So, after 15 minutes of talking on just the first sentence of this comment, I should probably kind of like try to get this to a point, right? This is supposed to be a short video. It's one comment. Jesus. Point being, I just would never try to push this on anybody. You know, so yeah, we definitely agree on that. But, you know, it's like your motivation is to suck though because you feel like most people enjoy it. I think that's probably true. But, you know, you have to know what kind of characters that people love. You know, some people love highly intelligent characters. Like, for instance, you know, Dr. House, highly intelligent. Abrasive, an asshole, but highly intelligent. I actually tend to appreciate the highly intelligent characters as well. The insanely curious, insatiably curious kind of, like, he's probably one of my favorite. He probably is my favorite character of all time because he is highly intelligent. He's insatiably curious, but deeply flawed as well. So just like the perfect character. So yeah, most people might enjoy it, but like maybe you're thinking about, since you already love the characters, you're thinking about the rest of the show, everything else the show has to offer. But I think you have to get past that first hurdle first. Do you love the characters? That has to happen. And for some people, that takes a while, which is kind of what you're talking about later in this comment. Let's get to that. It just clicks for people at different points. Some people are sold after Arlong Park, some after Logtown, some after Alabaster, some after Water 7. Now, what's interesting is you're introducing different characters. Like, for some people, maybe Frankie becomes their favorite character, so the show is just mid until Frankie is introduced. That's entirely possible. But it also could just be the accumulation of... Because for me, like, you know... He says if you don't... I'd say if you finish Water 7 Saga and still don't like the show, it's probably not for you. I would actually pull that back and say Skypiea. Skypiea basically is where it represents... Skypiea was before Water 7, right? I think so. It represents everything good and bad about the show. Like, it gives you the full spectrum of the show. You've got... Skypiea was one of the first times you had the lieutenants who are strong enough to body our characters, and then you had to really overcome that. Like, Luffy is having trouble with the lieutenants. I don't think... I could be very wrong about this. I don't think Luffy super struggled against lieutenants. He struggled against the bosses. I don't think he super struggled against lieutenants before this arc. Now, I could be, like I said, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so. Now, there could be extenuating circumstances, like one time he was really exhausted because he just carried Nami up the mountain. So maybe he struggles at that point, and maybe he's injured at some point or something. But, like, I remember Skypiea being, you know, frustrating. I almost said annoying, but I think frustrating is a better word. Because I was like, damn, he can't even get past the lieutenant, because there was these people that had their different... You had to pick the doors. And there was a lieutenant behind every door. And no matter which door you picked, you were going to have trouble. You know, and that person, the door they picked, I can't remember what his power was. Maybe, I can't remember. But whatever it was, I remember him being annoying. And it annoyed me and frustrated me that they were having so much trouble with just the lieutenant, right? But that became the norm for the show after that. Like, after that, it's like, yeah, every lieutenant's going to be very strong. Like, the lieutenants from moving forward but we're going to be as stronger than the bosses had been back in the day, right? So I think for that, if you get through Skypiea, probably, and you still don't like it, you're probably not going to like it. But I think that could be one. But Water 7, like I said, does introduce the last main character. I think Frankie is the last one that joins the crew until Jimby. So, and he's way so far down, like, if you're watching that far, you do like the show, whether you admit it or not, right? So, yeah, I think that somewhere around there I think that's a good point. Like, I don't remember how far into the show Water 7 is. It should be somewhere around 300-400 episodes, right? That's already a massive time investment. At that point, you may be in a sunk cost fallacy where it's like, well, I don't really like it, but I might as well keep watching it. That kind of thing, right? But yeah, that's why, just to put a button on what I started this off by talking about, because like Andy and there's some other people, it's like, hey, do you think I should watch One Piece? I don't like answering that question because watch it or don't. I don't care. Like, I'm not invested in you liking a show I like. I literally don't give a shit. So, it's like sometimes people want you to evangelize the show. They want you to convince them. Because I see this on Reddit all the time. Should I start watching Buffy? You're in the effing Buffy subreddit. What do you think people are going to say? No, you shouldn't start watching the show. We're here 25 years after the show's over. We're in this subreddit. We are subscribed to this subreddit. We see every post. And you're asking us, should you start watching the Buffy show? It's like going into McDonald's and asking if people like fries in there. Hey, do you people like fries here? Do you people make fries here? Should I eat fries? You're in McDonald's asking, should you eat fries? The hell you think people are going to say? Like, that is just, it's one of the most annoying things. Like, I automatically downvote those. And they do it everywhere. It's like, should I read this Stephen King book? Should I start Severance? It's just every subreddit they're asking that damn question. And I think it's an attention whore thing. I think it's like they want people to try to convince them. They want the attention of, hey, it's almost like the undecided voters in politics where they get the attention. If you're a decided voter, nobody gives a shit. If you're this way or that way, nobody cares because you have declared you're like a house who's declared their loyalty, right? I declare for the Queen. I declare for the Revolutionary. You've declared your loyalty. So they don't have to work on you anymore. They don't have to convince you. They don't have to keep you. They've got you. You've declared your loyalty. It's the undecided voters in the middle everybody gives a shit about because they can go either way. So they get all the attention. So if you just walk in a room and say, hey, I'm undecided. I haven't decided who to vote for yet. It feels like you're an attention whore. You just want the attention. I'm sure that's not true all the time, but that's the way it feels, right? And I'm sure it's not true all the time for these idiots who come in here, hey, should I watch Buffy? What the hell do you think we're going to say? So, it's super annoying. I hate that. So, yeah, the people there, I'm not saying Andy's this way. I know I mentioned his name. But, he asked me to try to convince him to watch One Piece as part of a much larger conversation. So that wasn't what I'm talking about. I'm just saying there are people who do this. There are people, hey, I'm an undecided voter. Convince me to watch One Piece. No, I'm not going to. Watch it or don't. I don't give a shit. So that's where I'm coming from, right? Okay, here he actually mentions how many episodes. He says, I'd say if you finish Water 7 and still don't like the show, it's probably not for you. But it feels insane because that's 300 episodes in. But that really is a turning point for some people. So it sucks to see people drop it at 20, 50, 100, etc. But oh well. Well, I will say this. It sucks to see them drop it at 20. 20 is nothing, man. I think if you watch any less than 5% of the show, you're missing out. Like, you should watch 5% of the show. I don't know how many episodes that would be. I guess it would be 5 per 100 episodes. So for 1,000, it'd be 50 episodes. For 1,100, it'd be 55 episodes. So yeah, I guess, if you drop before 55 to 60 episodes, let's say 60, just to, get it to a round number. If you drop before 60 episodes, then you're missing out. I think that's a good representation of any show. If the show has 20 episodes, watch one episode. 5% of any show, or any movie for that matter, should give you enough of the feel of the character's vibe and tone Maybe not movie because we're talking about such a smaller period there. But 5% of a show, 5% of a book is probably a good representation of the whole thing. So dropping after 20 is crazy. Like I don't even think we met. I don't remember, but we might not have even had Nami as officially part. Now, when did we meet Sanji? I don't think we met Sanji at 20. I think that's what I was trying to say. Nami, I guess it went. We saw Nami, but Zoro was actually the first member that joined. Then we kind of had Nami, I think, or she was just in parallel with him. She's traveling with him, maybe not officially part of the crew. Then Sanji. So I don't even know if we had met Sanji at 20. So man, that's just dropping at 20 is crazy. 100 is a decent. 100 is like it's below 10%, but like we're talking about 8 or 9% at that point. 100 is a decent representation. If you drop at 100, you probably should. If you don't love the main core cast, by 100 episodes you've seen Luffy, Nami, Zoro, Sanji, and I believe Chopper for sure. Plus, you've seen the kind of villains we're going to encounter. You've seen the kind of stories we're going to be telling. But like, if you don't love at least one of those Straw Hats after 100 episodes, you should drop it. So it's like I was saying. It's funny he mentions this here in the first episode because we talked about this in the last podcast, where it's like I was talking about Fringe, and like if you're in almost more than halfway through the second season of Fringe and you don't love the show, then drop it. You should stop. Like, I don't want to see your reactions if you don't love these characters. If you don't love the characters, almost all the way through the second season, you've had 35 episodes. You don't love the characters after 35 episodes, you should stop. Because I don't know what the hell's going on, but like, the show's not for you. Because these are very lovable, very endearing characters. So, that's simple. Same here. But yeah, good comment. I mean, I've recorded for 27 minutes. It's absolutely ridiculous. Maybe this is a bad idea. Because it's like, hey, what the hell? I could talk as long as I want to. It's not the full Q&A. I would feel pressure to move on if I had other questions. But, like, we'll see. I mean, I want to give attention to older comments. So, we'll see how this goes. We'll take it by ear. You just saw that, and now I'm going to be doing a couple more responses to old podcast questions and comments. I like the fact that those are starting to roll in, but, I'm doing it as part of my normal recording, Q&A session. Because they came in yesterday, so I wasn't going to do a separate video when I knew I was doing this today. So, but I'm going to start with those. But that tells me I've got like 43 questions and comments to get to now. A couple of those are probably me answering people. But still, there's like 40 question comments, so this is going to be a long-ass video. I think that was already 25 minutes just for 2 questions. I could easily see this video being 3 hours. And here's the thing. Some people might be, well, this is getting ridiculous. There's too many people are leaving questions, comments. They should stop. No, like, look. Mauler, EFAP, they put out 10-hour videos. Maybe not anymore. I don't know if they devote that kind of time to it anymore. They still have the energy. They're starting to get old, right? Like, they put out 300 of these. I don't think they go 10 hours anymore. They used to. Now they're probably 6 to 8 at the most. But anyway, people would sit there and watch 10 hours. Like, this is the kind of thing it's for, like, if you've got a long-ass drive. Put it on and just blaze, and you can just listen to it. Some people say they listen to me when I go to sleep. It's like there's not like a bunch of music. I'm not really shouting that much, and reactions I shout, but like here I'm not typically shouting very much. Maybe I'll raise my voice for an F-bomb. But this, I think that there is a market for long ass videos. So I'm not going to limit myself. I'm not going to censor myself. I'm not going to give people short answers I would have given them longer answers to. It takes how long it takes. Some comments I have nothing to say. Other comments I talk for an hour. Only marginally related to the comment. They sent me off on a tangent. But one thing I think I can do, I don't think it's going to take too much editing time because I can just copy paste and change the name. I think I'm going to start slapping the name of the person I'm responding to at the above my head. So that you can scroll, you can what do they call that? It's not scan. It's something where you can just kind of like go, because I can do it on the phone. I put my finger on it and just go zip, and I can see the time. And I do this when people have long intros because I don't like long intros. So I just want to get to the reaction, get in and get out. I don't have a lot of time, like I got time for like a 20-minute break in between videos I'm doing, and so I don't have time for a 10-minute intro. It's a lot of these intros, they just regurgitate what they summarize the last episode. You know, like I know the last episode. I've seen the series several times. With Buffy and Lost, I've seen it dozens of times. I don't need them to tell me the plot of the previous episode. That's why I never do that. Like, guys, you know, I'm not going to tell you what we just saw because you know. But there's the reactors who do that. So I go zip, and I just scan past until I see the box of the reaction video and back it up a little bit so I can get the whole thing. Right? That's what I do. Well, now if you just only give a shit about your comments, responses to your comments, kind of selfish. You know, I gotta say, it'd be kind of if you only ever give a shit about what I say to you. It's a little selfish, but whatever floats your boat. I'm here to serve everybody, even selfish people. But maybe you don't have time. Maybe you want to jump in and get your comment, or maybe you saw somebody else. You say, "Wait a minute, I remember that Hunter Stone had a great comment. I want to see what he says to that." You can now scan in it, and you'll see the name change, and you'll know that I've gone to a different question. Or if you're just bored with the current question, you can zip, and then go to the next question, and then listen to that, so you don't have to sit through the entire 3 hours. So I don't have time to do timestamps. I don't have time. I'm not going to pause and take notes while I'm editing. I'm trying to get this shit. Already takes forever to get it out. It would take hours longer, and somebody gets screwed in one of the reactions. So I don't have time to do timestamps, but this doesn't feel like it'd be very time consuming. You just have to create it. It's a little time consuming to create the text boxes. But once you create it and format it and you got it in the right place and it's the right color and everything and it's the right size and all that crap, it takes a little time figuring that out. Once you've got it, you can just copy paste it and then just change the text. So doing it once and then just changing it for each one, it shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. So that's what I'm going to do. So, matter of fact, I just realized what I can do. I can stretch it over the entire course of the entire video. That's what I'll do. I won't copy paste. I'll take one text box, stretch it all the way across, and whenever I change the question to a new person, I will cut it there and then change the name. Next time, cut it there and change the name. That's even faster than I thought. That'll take me even less time. I'm trying to save time here, right? So that's what I'll do. But, yeah, so you'll have already noticed that. No, you won't, because right at this point, I'm not addressing anybody. Let me get into that. Like, you know, we can't finish the Q&A if I never start it. So, both of these are from Continual Rise. And both of them are from episode 7, Any Chapped Ass Monkey. If you remember, 7 was the other one I had split up into two pieces. One was Pro All One Piece, which was Any Chapped Ass Monkey. And then one was not One Piece. This was the one that was not. This is the one that was One Piece. Yeah, hence the Chapped Ass Monkey. By the way, I've started doing this with One Piece. So, starting with episode 1122... I'm doing a Q&A. No, sorry, 1132. I'm doing a Q&A where I address all the comments from the previous episode. I'm doing that moving forward. So it's been a lot of fun. Anyway, this is Any Chapped Ass Monkey, Continue Rise. Chopper is 17 now. He was 15 pre-time skip, the youngest member of the crew. So he's still pretty young. The thing is, I knew that. And I think I still screwed that up, and I was talking about these Q&As. A recent episode, because I'm up to, I've seen up to 1134. It takes a lot longer to do these, by the way. You know, it's a whole thing. You'll get there when you get there if you like One Piece. But I screwed that up. I thought he was 17 pre-time skip, because I added the time skip age. And then added another 2 years as if he was that age and he went forward. Everybody else was 17. They were 17 to 18. And now they're 19 to 20. And he was 15, now he's 17. I screwed that up recently. You'll see it when you get to the episode. Not a big deal. But I realized when I saw this comment yesterday, oh crap, I screwed up Chopper's age. Yeah, he's 15 to 17. So that's why he's so immature. This is also from the Continual Rising Chapped Ass Monkey. Also a great series for strong females is Claymore, a very good series. I personally wish they gave the Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment to it. The OG anime is much like the original Fullmetal. It follows the manga great, but it caught up with the manga and had to create its own meh ending. But otherwise, still a great anime, mostly about strong females. So, that's the state of things? That's it? I'm not going to watch an anime that sucks at the end. Like, I would never have watched Game of Thrones if I'd known how it was going to turn out. No, like, it's how you stick the landing, man. Like, there's no point in watching because I would never rewatch Game of Thrones. I watch reactions to it because it's funny. But let me see. Like, you're telling me they never. This is what it is. They have a great anime and then the ending shits to bed. Why would I watch that? Let me look it up. One season? This can't possibly be right. It's just called Claymore, huh? 26 episodes. Yeah, it needed a second season. It said it was canceled. It should have gotten a second season, but it wasn't very popular in Japan. I don't know. Maybe there. I don't know why he gotten the name wrong. Oh well. I guess I need more detail. I don't want to look too much about it, and I'll get spoiled, right? Because I mean, I'm open to it, but it's weird that like you made it sound like it was a complete story. Maybe they ran out. It said it was a really popular manga. Maybe they immediately jumped into production, caught up with the manga, passed it up, had a shitty ending to season one, and then nobody wanted it anymore after that. I don't know. That sounds like what may have happened there. All right. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the comments. This is for episode 10. I take an L. This is for the this is the feedback. So these are all the comments that are part of the feedback video. By the way, if you get into an argument with another member, I'm not going to read all that shit here. I mean, I read it with my eyeballs, which is ironic if you go back and look at what I'm talking about because that comment was made there. But I'm not going to read it here because that's between y'all. I mean, you can slap that out if you want to, but looks like it was actually a three-way fight. I don't know. I'm just I don't think it got that heated. I I get really bored with internet arguments, because it's just you're a lot of times. See, not this. What I'm about to say here is not the case with people that I'm talking. I know all three people involved here, right? So know them. Internet know them. I've been talking to them for years, so I know the people involved. They are earnest in what they say. They're not fake. But the internet arguments you get into, with like in Reddit and YouTube, typically I have a one response rule. I'll respond to somebody once, and then in that case, it'll either be obvious that they actually believe what they're saying, or they're just a troll there just to argue. I don't know why you'd want to argue. I'm too old for that shit. I don't care about just arguing with people. I don't care about changing people's mind. You're never in the history of the world has anybody ever changed anybody's mind. Now, you may be like, well, I've seen it. Yeah, okay, I've seen it too, but I still don't believe you're going to change somebody's mind, especially on the internet. I don't think you can do it in person either, because they're not going to change their mind. They don't respect you. They don't know you. Maybe your mother can change your mind. Your lover can change your mind. Like your sibling can change your mind, maybe. But some person you don't really know them, they're not going to change your mind. And so what are we doing here? If we're not trying to change each other's mind, you offer the other viewpoint once, and then that's it. That's the end of it, in my opinion. I will offer the opposing viewpoint. Here's what I think that's very different than what you think. Once, and if that doesn't move the needle, or if it's clear that they're just trolling and they just want to piss people off on the internet for whatever the hell that does for them, I don't know. I got the old "oh, you poor baby, you're offended because I'm right" response recently. And it's like, okay, so you called me poor baby. I guess you hurt my feelings, and now what does that do for you? What do you get out of that, right? If you had hurt my feelings, what do you get out of that, right? I don't, I'm a writer. I'm supposed to understand people. I don't understand what they get out of that. It's fleeting at best. Even if you did hurt their feelings, by tomorrow they'll have completely forgotten you existed, and they have moved on. It doesn't stay with it. So what if you accomplish it, right? Whereas if you actually change somebody's mind, I stay with them forever. But I don't think you can. So anyway, I'm just saying, outside of my channel, I don't engage in that shit because it's just pointless. I'll offer something once. If they get, it could be just a correction. Hey, you're not remembering this episode, right? This is what actually happened in the episode. And sometimes they'll have a follow-up question. Be like, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. And then we can actually have a conversation if they're in earnest and they believe what they're saying and they're not a troll. We can have a conversation, and that's very productive and fun. I'll answer it, right? But if they come back crazy, I'm just move on to the next thing. I don't care. I'm not engaging with that shit. So it's just pointless. And I think a lot of people hold on to this belief that they can actually change somebody's mind, and I just don't think you can. But anyway, back to my channel. Everybody here was like in earnest. They were talking about whether or not an anime sucks. I think they believe their own points of view, right? So that's not what this is, but it's also not something I'm going to read out. So that'll save us like probably half an hour of me reading out comments. So anyway, so just to explain, because like if I ever do skip a comment, it's either going to be because you're bickering with amongst each other, or because you gave a time stamp because you're trying to win the reaction. Which did I say 5? Yeah, we're up to 5 minutes. And then if nobody wins that in the next 10 podcasts, then I'll move it up to 10 minutes. Somebody's going to win. I'm going to make sure somebody wins. If I have to make it a half hour, we'll eventually get there. But it's like the lottery. Once you win the $2 billion lottery, the time resets. So I wouldn't keep it at a half hour every time. Anyway, let's get to the actual comments that I'm going to read. Hunter Stone. I think you should do a reaction to either the summer Kura died or Dadan. Boy, are you in luck. I just released that reaction a couple hours ago. So, Dadan. It's been released. I forgot about the summer Hakura died. I saw this comment 11 days ago. Don't worry, the summer Hakura died is actually Japanese. Oh, I must have been talking about that, where I was afraid some of these Netflix shows were not Japanese. I don't trust Netflix. You should know this by now. I don't trust them bastards. So they may be pretending Japanese anime in name only, right? What's some of that be? JAINA. Guess that doesn't make a word, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I wish I had like revisited this because I didn't remember. I wanted to do a couple of people actually asked for. That's why I did that's why I did that one. But I forgot about this summer Hakura died. I would have done that. I ended up doing solo leveling, which I actually liked and I think people like. So far, I'm recording this almost at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. The videos have been out for a couple hours now. Right now, these are early results, subject to change. But just so you know what I'm thinking right now. Right now, it's looking like solo leveling and Dadan are going to be the two. And if I can be as annoying as possible when I say the name, maybe people will back off that and not make me watch it. I didn't really. We'll talk about that in the animation segment over at the main podcast. I'm going to talk about it because I actually release these as in video, slightly edited reactions over on Tier 3. So I'll talk about what I thought about every one of these anime over there. So we'll do that there. But I have opinions. But I kind of wish. What was the other one I did yesterday? I did 2 a week and a half ago, and I did 2 recently. The other one a week, solo leveling, and that one, and then the dress up darling and guild receptionist were a couple like 10 days ago. So I did those right after I did the last podcast. So that means I'm actually caught up, by the way, with the Tier 3 exclusive podcast videos that I release every month. I'm caught up. I've been a month behind for a while, but now I'm caught up 2 weeks before we end August. So, all right, Kill Code is next. All of the anime on that list are Japanese productions. The Netflix only just means they have exclusive streaming rights. But you see my confusion, though, right? Like, I totally hear what you're saying. And I believe you. I believe you a hell of a lot more than I believe Netflix. Believe that. But, at first glance, it makes it seem like, they also produced it. They're not just like, they didn't just buy those streaming rights. So, I don't trust some bastards. That's kind of what I'm saying here, right? They have no actual creative control for any of the series. That's good to know, by the way. Netflix is where most people stream anime in Japan. Oh, I didn't know that. As there isn't really an anime-only streaming service like Crunchyroll there. So if I was to take my VPN to Japan, and could I just go to the Netflix there and stream all the anime? I guess I could, yeah. Although I tried to do this with HBO Max in New Zealand. I went to the New Zealand Netflix or the New Zealand HBO Max with my VPN on, because they have Teen Titans you can stream on HBO Max there in New Zealand, right? And tried to use it, and it says, we detected you have a VPN turned on. Turn it off and try again. It's like, you sons of bitches. They know. It's a technological war. It's a Cold War. An arms race, if you will. It's an arms race for who will dominate the internet. VPN a couple years ago, you could use it and watch anything you wanted on any. That was how they. I remember that's how they advertised it. And I should have realized. Because I listened to YouTube sponsorships. When you're listening to a video, this is sponsored by NordVPN, and it'll tell you about it. A few years ago, they would say you could watch stuff in other countries using this VPN, and they'll think you're from that country, and you can watch whatever you want. It gives you more viewing options that may not be available in your country. But they haven't been saying that lately, and I hadn't paid attention to that. I guess that's because streaming services have figured out how to tell. They can tell you're using a VPN somehow. Internet magic, They can tell you're using a VPN, and then they will block you from doing that. So they've stopped it. So now we need the VPN to come out with technology where they can't tell you're using a VPN. I don't know how they're going to do that, but get on that. I think you would like the Dan. The author worked as an assistant on the the Chainsaw Man manga, and they have a pretty similar vibe. I think that is true. I hadn't really considered this, but I do think there is a definite Chainsaw Man vibe to this that makes me feel a little bit better about that anime. But we'll get to that in another video. Gachakuta was also made by an author who worked on Chainsaw Man. Well, they're propagating. It's like in the NFL, the coaching trees. So there was a coach who had Vince Lombardi as his defensive coordinator and Tom Landry as his offensive coordinator. Technically, everything they did to succeed in the NFL was part of his coaching tree. I don't remember that dude's name. Nobody remembers that son of a bitch. He didn't do shit. He had two of the best coaches in NFL history on his team and didn't win jack shit. Dude, it's you. The problem is you. It's you. It's not them. Vince Lombardi. Even if you've never watched a day of football in your life, you've heard of Tom Landry and Vince Lombardi, right? Football fanatics have been watching football for 50 years. They never heard of their head coach. It's you. It's you. The Chainsaw Man coaching tree is looking pretty strong so far. Leviathan is made by the guy who created Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. Well, shit, say less. I don't think it's nearly as good as his other works, but you might like it. Dude, that guy who created Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo is a genius. I'm checking it out. Leviathan. Somebody remind me so I don't forget again. Ariel, this one's from Ariel. She's replying to Kill Code here. Yes, what platform an anime is streaming on doesn't have anything to do with this legitimacy. You are either a legitimate anime or you're an illegitimate anime. I like the phrasing, how that's phrased. Both Seven Deadly Sins and Vinland Saga were Netflix originals exclusives. Now, see, the original, I guess it's just another word of saying exclusive. To me, original implies that they made it themselves. Exclusive implies they bought the rights. But that may not be actually accurate. I think Vinland Saga isn't anymore, at least for the English dub. There are two different versions. The Netflix dub and the Sentai, hopefully I'm remembering the name right, dub. This one's also from Ariel. Croatos doesn't usually post clickbait titles, thumbnails, but I really enjoyed that video. I think you'll like/agree with it, but I could always be wrong. And this next, she also replies to herself, so I think that adds some context to it. I just rewatched it and realized he must have changed the thumbnail because I remember Luffy being on. I did too. That's what pissed me off. But now it's Eren from Attack on Titan. He does talk about One Piece as well as Attack on Titan, Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul. He does briefly mention something about the One Piece manga, but I'm not sure it would actually spoil you on anything in particular. That's why I'm going to wait. I saw this comment and I'm not going to watch it for now. It's a quick flash of him saying something about the payoff or something along those lines. I have no clue since I'm not caught up, so it doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, you're like those robots in Westworld. It doesn't mean anything to me. Or, wait a minute. I didn't see. It doesn't look like anything at all. That's what they said. It doesn't look like anything at all. That's what they said. Yeah. So, but also it feels like I got the wrong impression because Loopy is in the thumbnail, and they're talking about retcons being bad or whatever it was. And I was like, there's no way in hell. Like I just, that pissed me off because there wasn't any retcons in One Piece, and I will fight you for that. But he was just using Luffy because One Piece is popular and he's trying to get people to watch this video. So he's really just talking about all kinds of other shows. So that doesn't really impact me as much. I have seen all these other shows. So I may check it out at some point, just not right now. All right, this one's Barracuda. This is a comment where they have like a long bickering exchange after that. So I'm going to ignore all that. But I will read the original comment. Prison School was the second worst comedy anime? Well, question mark. My delivery of that was terrible. Let me try that again. Prison School was the second worst comedy anime? Sometimes I don't see that it's going to be a question and I don't have time to raise my voice. At the end, you lift your voice up at the end to do a question mark. Apparently, by the way, that was a thing. Why do I have my headphones on? I'm not going to be listening to anything for quite. I'm going to be talking for a while. I will not be listening to anything. I'm just so used to it. I remember reading an article about 10, 15 years ago that teenagers of that time, they would have been 12, 13, 14, 15 at the time, which means now they're 30, probably. So maybe there's some of you. Some of you were teenagers 15 years ago. Some of you were like, 12, 15 years ago. Let me know if you did this or if you remember hearing this. Kids were doing a thing where they would deliver their lines. They would talk, and it wouldn't be a question, but it would sound like a question. It's like, I'm going to the bathroom. I think I'm going to get something to eat. I really like this new TV show. Like they would raise the end of their sentence as if it was a question, which is the classic way you let people know you're asking a question. But it wasn't a question. And I remember in this article, this woman was complaining, but two of her kids were doing this. She's like, honey, that's not a question. Don't do your voice like that. Like, teenagers are so annoying. They're always going to find something new that nobody's ever done before. Somehow they will find something that nobody's ever done before in the history of mankind. In the history of mankind, nobody had ever done that before. At one point they made fetch happen. The slang is always changing. Now you're a gooner. If you're like looking at porn, you're a gooner. Nobody's ever done that before. That's the current thing that people are doing. Riz, I guess, means like you're really sexy to people. You have an aura about you. Aura farming. There's all these things kids talk about. Slang is common. Slang is always going to be different, but there's always going to be slang. Teenagers will always have slang they say that adults don't understand because they're trying to separate themselves from the adults. So they're going to make up shit to say to each other that adults don't understand. That's common. That happens every generation. What doesn't happen every generation is people turning statements into questions. That's, if I'd had that ability, this would have worked out a lot better and we wouldn't have spent 2 minutes talking about it. But anyway, Prison School is the second worst comedy anime? I think I need to name... Oh, yeah. I already feel the rage coming. I think I need the name of the person who created that list. I agree. Let's go see them together. You don't have to hold them down. I'm perfectly capable with my big fat ass. They'll be on the ground. Just watch the door. Just make sure there's no cops coming. I understand that the anime isn't for everyone because it has a lot of sex jokes, but it's not bad. Also, I haven't seen but seems like 90% of the comedy has been put into the title because I laugh every time you say it. I think that's just me being stupid. Also, trying to disincentivize anybody, just like I am with Dan. I'm trying to encourage you not to encourage me to watch it. So you never have to hear me say that again. That's the point. So, I think you should watch the cartoon Avatar first, in my opinion. It does more things right, and the cartoonish style fits better. The show's fights and comedy than the 3D. Wait, let me try that again with better delivery. What is it about this comment I can't deliver properly? It does more things right, and the cartoonish style fits better the show's fights and comedy than the 3D. yeah, it's interesting because I probably, if I was to do either one, I'd probably do the anime first rather than the live action. It sounds like they kind of butchered the live action. It has gotten 3 seasons, so it's not too terrible, but it does sound like they butchered it. And I'm more of OG. That's why I'm not going to watch One Piece. I would watch the One Piece live action if I could find it with the Japanese dub. There is a Japanese dub. I just can't find it anywhere. Let me look again. I'm going to look again right now to see if I can find the Japanese dub because I have not been able to find it. You have like 50 different subtitle languages you can use, but they only have the English option. I don't have Netflix. I don't have access to it. I wonder if it's available there. If it's available on Netflix, I'll find a way to do that. But I have not been able to find it in Japanese, so I'd do that live action. And the argument in the comments seems to be about whether or not prison school sucks. But with all due respect, prison school is ass. It's taste. We've talked about this before, man. It's taste. You don't go into a restaurant and say, "Why are you eating a hamburger instead of the chicken? Hamburger tastes better." You're a fucking idiot. I didn't do that on purpose, but I guess I got to keep it. God damn it. I like to keep those an hour into the thing, right? That was completely. It's never scripted. But I am like, okay, it's been an hour. I can let loose the dogs of war anytime I feel it. I'll let it out, right? But in this case, it just came out. I could not stop myself. Like I said, I try to scheme it. I try to script it because very rarely does anybody pick under an hour. Nor should they. By the way, I've said that before. I like to say I'm a hoarder when it comes to video game assets, right? Like say you have 3 daggers and you got to survive the entire video game with the 3 daggers. I'm not using it for the first 10 encounters. If there's 15 encounters, I will save those 3 daggers. I will die with those 3 daggers in my hand because I'm trying to save it for them because I might need it, right? Things get harder as you progress, right? It gets harder and harder to contain the F-bomb as we progress. But, yeah, it came out. Whatever. Anyway, you're an effing idiot. Chicken is obviously better than hamburger. Like, that's a conversation I don't understand. It's taste. You like what you like. Other people like what they like. And it's just it's just what it is. Now, it is true. This is a little bit more complicated. Some things are objectively bad. There could be a hamburger from Hardee's is objectively worse than chicken from Chick-fil-A, right? Or Popeyes. We'll even say Popeyes, right? Like to give a better contrast. A Popeyes chicken sandwich is objectively better than a hamburger from Hardee's because Hardee's sucks ass. And this isn't even this is objectively true. This is not about taste. This is not about personal preference. Hardee's is nasty. I went to Hardee's one time. I was standing in line, and they dropped a hot dog on the floor, picked it up, wiped it off with a paper towel, and put it back in the bun to give to somebody. I said, I want my money back, and I left. I've never been back. The place, but if you go into them, I've gone in a couple times since then to use the bathroom. The places are nasty. They don't clean them. I don't know if they're even up to using gloves yet in the kitchen. It's nasty and unsanitary. Like, F Hardee's. Like, you think I'd be making Hardee's just be pulling brand? No, F Hardee's. They're nasty. Those hamburgers are objectively bad. And you're a bad person. You should feel bad if you eat a Hardee's. Because you're making yourself sick. So there are exceptions. But generally speaking, there's no objective truth when it comes to whether you like something or not. If you like it, you like it. Although, I guess there's another way you can parse this. There's a difference between saying, I like Last Action Hero, and Last Action Hero is a good movie. Those are two different statements. Those are two different statements, aren't they? I've never really thought about that before. Nobody can argue with I like Last Action Hero. Argue with your mother. You ain't arguing with me about what I like. I know what I like. You don't, right? Argue with your mother. I like Last Action Hero. But if I say Last Action Hero is a good movie, that leaves a little bit of room for debate, doesn't it? And really, like, the thing about this was too, Barracuda didn't say. Did I mention this is a Barracuda comment? I can't remember. This is, you've seen it up here, but Barracuda didn't say it's a great anime. Barracuda said it's not the second worst comedy anime ever made, which that is a very high bar. You've got to sit there and convince us every other comedy anime is better than this one except for one. Like, for his statement not to be true. You got to give examples of all the other anime that are terrible for this statement not to be true. That's interesting. I don't know, but anyway, like, it probably who would say who? Probably the ones that are actually the worst. We've never heard of. It'd be a single season, 10, 12, or 26 episode season series that has been immediately forgotten. Here's the thing. Another diversion for you. There's a sitcom that I loved. It would have come out 1992. It was brilliant, man. It was about this black guy who just got a production deal from a student. Now remember, this is 1992. Like, the way networks handled race relations and racial images and stereotypes and all that shit back then was not great. But they had, this was after In Living Color come out, and I guess they were like loosening it up a little bit and letting black creative voices have a little bit more freedom, because it was a black run show. It was a sitcom, but it was run by a black production company, and most of the characters are black. But you had he was like a really popular. He had gotten really famous. He was like the character in the sitcom was a stand-up comedian who had gotten really famous and gotten a production deal, and he needed somebody to be a showrunner for his new sitcom, which is what the sitcom was about, right? It was about they were gonna create this sitcom and become popular and all this shit, right? But he didn't understand the business, so he hired a white guy who's the straight man of the show. It's like he's Mr. George Burns with Gracie, and he's the stooge that doesn't hit people, or he's the whatever, what straight man is. So he was a straight man, and he comes in and he just doesn't understand anything about black culture at all, right? Like, and so there was a lot of comedy there. And then the guy who played the black comedian was so funny. I don't think I've seen him since then. I don't know what happened to him. And I tell you, I loved this show. It was so good. It only got like 9 episodes or something. It was quickly canceled. Never found an audience. I guess it pissed off the black people and pissed off the white people. I thought it was hilarious. Like I said, I grew up in a project, so I'm very familiar with black comedy and the tropes and stereotypes and what they find funny and what back then, and what why they found it funny back then. And a lot of it was just poking fun at the mechanisms of society that aren't really for them. So there's just, I understood all the references. I was at this point in '91. I was not that far removed from living on those streets, right? And so I just innately got everything they were trying to do from both perspectives, from the black perspective and the white perspective. I got it. It was a very funny show. And but it was probably objectively bad. But no, I don't remember the name of it, and nobody else remembers the name of it. You could say maybe it's the worst sitcom ever. It could be the worst sitcom ever made, other than "Hi, oh honey, I'm home" or whatever. And nobody remembers it. I remember. I may be the only human being on Earth who remembers this series. I think, like I said, it only had 9 episodes, but there were 2 things stand out from those 9 episodes. One was they made fun of Friends. Friends was super popular. It was like the most popular sitcom ever. And what's so funny about that is he walks in. It was like their cold opens always had nothing to do with the story. It'd be meta, fourth wall breaking. In one of the cold opens, they show 6 characters that are supposed to be the friends. They're white and they're standing and they're all talking about, oh, I'm so lonely. I want to have sex and I want to date and everything. And all 6 of them are saying this shit, right? This is probably going on during the 4th season of Friends or whatever. And he walks into the apartment and says, look, man, there's 3 hot women. There's 3 hot men. You're all heterosexual. Hook up. You two, and you two. Go ahead, start smashing. There, I solved all your problems. And then he leaves. I thought that was hilarious. The problem with that is, Friends went on to become like probably the 3rd most lucrative, most popular, most long-running sitcom in TV history, and your show went 9 episodes. So you made fun of Friends, but who won in the end? Friends. I always think about that. Anytime I run across Friends, or how popular it is, a 20th anniversary or whatever, I think about this show that made fun of them and then quickly died, and nobody's ever heard of them. And then there's nothing to stand out, but this is getting too long. Nobody cares. The point being, I'm the only person on Earth that remembers this sitcom, and it may have been objectively terrible. It's been 30 years since I watched it. Yeah, over 30 years since I watched it, so I don't remember. It could be objectively terrible, but nobody else remembers it. So the truly bad will not be remembered. Is my point of all that. The truly bad will not be remembered. So I don't think this list is going to be accurate from an objective point of view, no matter what. Because there are 10 comedy anime out there that are so bad and so incompetent, so terrible, that they only lasted a short while and then, boom, they're gone. And nobody remembers them. So they're not going to be on the list because nobody remembers them. Those will be the objectively 10 worst anime. So that's why I don't like the list in the first place. The whole thing's clickbait to get people to talk about it, and we've been talking about it for 2 podcasts now. That's what it is, right? That's what they're doing. They're same with the NFL rankings. Brad Brady is the best quarterback in the NFL, like when nobody's ever heard of him, because I just made the name up. They're going to put him at number 2 or something, just so people talk about it. Hey, did you see this list? It's so stupid. They're so dumb. Well, at least you're talking about them. Yeah, so that's what that is. I don't, that's what it is. It's clickbait. And if it drives a lot of traffic, they get a bonus from their boss, or at least they don't get fired this week from the magazine boss, right? So, yeah, that's what that is. All right, moving on. We've got some comments, 3 straight, because one of them's a prediction. He may have nailed that one. He said 59:30. It's entirely possible because I looked at the record time. The original video I did 10 days ago was around 25 minutes. I don't know what that'll edit down to. And this one is around, the one I just finished was, I think, around 35 when I cussed. I don't know what that would edit down to. I bet he won. He might have actually won this one because he said 59 minutes and 30 seconds. Feels like he might entirely be within 5 minutes of that. That'll be exciting. Can't wait for that. I want somebody to win. So anyway, but he's going to do 3 straight comments. I would probably get a lot of flack for this, but my I stopped right before it gets good moment is for Breaking Bad. Or I just block him from the channel. And then he doesn't win because he's blocked from the channel. There is a way you can block somebody to keep from commenting. Yes. I stopped at 2 or 3 episodes into season 3, and I think I've been told it gets really good around there. Well, see, here's this. Here's what I was just talking about. I think I said this last time. I know I said it somewhere. It may have been last time's podcast. You got into episode 2 or 3 of season 3. Okay, so there was 7 episodes in season 1, 13 episodes in season 2. That's 20 episodes. You got 23 episodes into a 59 episode series. Almost halfway. If you didn't love the characters, by that point, you should stop. Like, if you had stopped 2 or 3 episodes into season 2, I'd feel very differently about this. You stopped 2 or 3 episodes into season 3. You didn't love the characters. If you don't love the characters, you should stop watching. Because these are fascinating, very lovable characters, and you would love those characters by that point if you love the characters. If you're capable of loving the characters, you would have loved them by then. You didn't. So stop. There's no point in watching. Because what are you watching for? The plot? That's what we always talk about, man. Like, people don't watch shows for the plot. They watch shows for the characters. The plot can be awesome, and that's great. But you're only there for the ride of the plot because you love one of the characters, at least one of them, right? So that's the difference. That's why Lost is still being talked about. Their subreddit is jumping 20 years after it ended. And nobody remembers, flash forward, nobody remembers the event. Nobody remembers, hell, they don't even really remember Heroes, which is probably the best Lost knockoff. Like, that had more run, but, like, I doubt that the Heroes subreddit is jumping. I seriously doubt it. So, Nobody remembers those other shows because they didn't have compelling characters. Heroes did have compelling characters in season 1, and then they assassinated them all. So that was the difference. That why was Heroes the most popular Lost inspired show? Because of the characters. Because the characters were great. They started off with great characters. They ruined them all, but they started off with great characters. That's why it had legs. That's why it lasted more than one season. These other shows didn't last more than one season because the characters sucked. It's about the characters. Because Flash Forward had a great plot. He had a fantastic plot. I love the plot of Flash Forward. The characters sucked. And they focused on the character drama and the character resolutions and shit. Rather than focus on the plot, which may have possibly saved it. Probably not. Is there a series where the characters are very vanilla, but the plot is so good people watch it anyway? Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov sucked at writing characters. The worst characters I've ever seen in my life were, I've read probably over half of his novels. His characters blow. He doesn't know how to create a realistic character. I know he's dead. It's bad to speak ill of the dead. He couldn't create a realistic character if one of them crawled out of his ass, man. He can't do it. They're all cardboard, one-dimensional stereotypes. They're plot devices. Just literally plot devices. There's nothing else to them. Those characters are boring as hell. Because he didn't care about the characters. He cared about the plot and the ideas. He really even just the ideas. A lot of times he didn't even have plots. He just had great ideas. That man he was a genius. I love Isaac Asimov. Great writer. You know, but like his characters blow. He's the only one I can think of where you're reading it for the plot, not for the characters. So that's the thing, man. Like if you don't love the characters this far into the show, drop it. Because it gets really good. Yeah, it does get really good if you love the characters. If you don't love the characters, you ain't gonna give a shit about it. Getting good is the stakes. These characters are in danger. You don't love the characters, so you're not gonna care as much about them being in danger. Watch something else, man. Literally, that's my advice. You know, because like that's really should be the thing, right? That should be the bar for all of us. Give it enough time. Give it 20% of the runtime of the show, whatever that is. For One Piece, it'd be 300 episodes. Give it 20% of the runtime. If you don't love the characters, after 20% of the runtime, get out. Pull the ripcord, man. You should. Don't have somebody come to you, oh, you'll love the characters episode 500. F you. You should love them by 20% in. If you don't love them by 20% in, get out. Pull the ripcord. And never listen to anybody talk about that. You should watch that shit. So that's my opinion anyway. Super Dragon Ball Herpes. Yes. Shadow Dog 2025. 3 upvotes. 3 of you are very mean. 3 people uploaded that. Well, one of them was me. So 2 people uploaded that. The hell, man. I don't remember saying that, but I'm sure I did. I must have been joking about how many different names I had, right? So, Dragon Ball Evolution is the terrible live-action movie. Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Why can they not make a live-action movie of an anime that doesn't suck? We've been into that before. I just returned to the question because I don't understand. Here's another example. You have Dragon Ball, supposedly like a great series. People love that series. You have Avatar: The Last Airbender. People love that series. Yeah, let me see. Yu Yu Hisoka, whatever. Ghost Files Detective. That movie blew. Cowboy Bebop movie blew. Just talking about movies, not TV shows. I don't think there's ever been a live action movie of an anime that didn't suck. And one of the reasons could be because anime are much more of a slow burn, and they have time to be a slow burn. But a live action movie could encompass 6 to 7 anime episodes verbatim, especially if you cut out the credits. You could do 6 or 7 episodes. So if they got a really good 7-episode arc, you could just do it verbatim. Now you could, obviously you would condense and maybe get a couple more episodes in there, but you could literally do it verbatim and have time, right? So I don't understand. Like you could do like a really cool arc and do the whole thing. The only problem would be if it requires a lot of setup. Like maybe you would need an hour just to establish what the characters are, what the magic system is, what the world is, what are we fighting for, what are we fighting against, all that shit. You could speed run through that if you wanted to, but then you'd end up like the Harry Potter movies. the biggest problem with the Harry Potter adaptations is everything is speed run. Everything is too fast. If there is a 6-paragraph conversation in the book, they will reduce it to 3 lines of dialogue, and that's everything. It'll be like there could be somebody who's like really pissed off by how you're treating them, and then they'll get 1 line of dialogue in a movie that will express that, and then we're moving on to something else. So everything feels awkward and out of place and non sequitur, right? Like I said, like a 6-paragraph conversation about how Percy undermines everything Hermione says at the dinner table. Just this didn't happen. But say there would be a 6-paragraph conversation about that. What they do in the movie is Hermione would say, "These potatoes are really good," and Percy would say, "They're undercooked," and Hermione would say, "You're always undermining me," and that'd be it. That would literally be it. They would never address it again for the rest of the movie, and that is like they covered 2 pages with that 3 lines of dialogue. They covered, so that's the problem with the movies. Everything is too goddamn fast. You can't stop and appreciate anything. Like, it was a very interesting conversation in the book, and it went somewhere, and then it pays off later in the book when he trusts her in something. Like I said, I'm just making this up, but there's plenty of examples we could actually use. Like, later in the book, he trusts her with something because he took what she said to heart, and then they may even show that moment later in the movie. But nobody's going to make the connection because they sped run through the entire... Everything's too fast because they've got 800 pages they're trying to turn into a 2-hour movie. 2 hours and 30 minutes, I guess. But, so that's why I can't watch those movies. Literally, everything's a non sequitur. Just one comment, one or 2 words, 1 or 2 sentences, and then we move on. And then really what that makes you want to do is just go back and read the book. It's just too fast. I don't know how anybody who hasn't read the books could ever follow anything or be emotionally invested in any of this shit. Because it's just too fast. Like, what you should do is just literally cut some shit out and then spend more time with what you didn't cut out. Instead, they want to reference everything in the entire book, but not spend any time on any of it, right? Till you get to like the final battle or something. So maybe they have that problem in these anime live action adaptations. I'm not sure. They just don't have the time to devote to it. That's why the TV series idea is better. Even that, we've already talked about that with One Piece. They're not the One Piece. By the time they get to the good shit, these actors are going to be 50 years old. Like they just really should have done time skips between seasons. And it doesn't seem like they're doing it. So, and I can't find the voices in Japanese, so I just refuse to watch it. Those are my 2 issues. All right, Power of Death has the next couple comments. One of them is, hey, Power of Death might also win. The 42-11. If I don't know exactly how it's going to edit out, because sometimes it could be a 35-minute video, but it edits down to 25 minutes because I'm looking something up. I have a coughing fit. I'm drinking, a lot. So, or I'm just like searching for a thought, trying to remember a character name or a show name or something. And rather than have you sit there and watch me for 2 minutes, I just cut it out. So sometimes 35 can edit down to 25, right? So I don't know, but if Hunter didn't win, I think Power of Death just won because they said 42-11. Somebody's winning this time. I feel confident, at least for this video. We'll see what happens in the other one. Wouldn't it be? What would I do if it actually works out so one person wins both videos? Because like I said, I'll have some control over it. Sometimes I'll hold back. I'll be like, wait a minute, I'm only 20 minutes in. I shouldn't cuss yet. Nobody will win, right? Sometimes I hold myself back. Sometimes, like what happened today, I can't hold it. It comes out. I can't hold it. So if it happens, I guess they would win 2 reactions. I don't see any other way around that. Unless, like in this case, there's somebody else within range, but Hunter is closer. Say 2 people are 5 minutes apart, and we've got 3. Say they're 3 minutes apart. These 2 are too far apart, but let's say they were. Say 2 people are 3 minutes apart, and the second person would have won, but the first person was ahead of them. They're between them and the win, right? If the F-bomb comes in where they both were within range for both videos, I would give it to one each, right? You won, get your ass out of my face, okay, now you win. But if only one person's in range of both, they should win 2 reactions. So that's what I'll do, I guess. Anyway, Power Death. Yeah, when I think of certain episodes, I also think of the episode numbers instead of the title names. Yeah, that's a big problem for me. Problem? I don't know. I don't know if problem's the right word. But it's definitely a thing, right? All right, we're back to Barracuda. I personally don't mind ships. Okay. I was like, wow, you just want to swim everywhere? No, I know what you mean. It took me like a half second. Like, I know what you mean. I personally don't mind ships as long as you're not enforcing them. Yeah, and how would you really enforce it? Like, you must like this, Harry and Hermione ship, which is my ship. Ron's a moron. Like, I don't know what she sees in me. I don't believe that would happen if they were real people. But, and maybe he's 12 inches long. I don't know. I guess anything's possible. But since you brought this up, and if you remember, I commented about the gotcha games in one of the podcasts. Let me share one of the worst things about gotcha communities. The hell is gotcha? Guess I'm going to look that up real quick. I know you explained it before, but guess what? I don't remember. By the way, is that why the anime is called that? Gotcha, kucha, whatever? Is it because of it's based on a game? Or the people play the game or something? A gotcha game is a game, typically a video game, that implements the gotcha Chapon machine style. But you can't use the word in the definition. The definition of love is when you love someone. You can't do that, man. You gotta use different words so we understand what the hell you're talking about. You can't use the actual word in the goddamn, like, are you shitting me? Implements the gotcha game implements the gotchapon. Well, thank you. That clears everything up. Like, I really appreciate that. Jesus Christ, man. I guess I'm gonna click on gotchapon and see what the hell that is. It's a kind of vending machine dispenses capsule toys. Okay. So what you're telling me is, you do like this. You crank it and then you get a toy. Okay. And this is a video version of that. All right, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I didn't even do that on purpose. Wait, how would there be ships and something like that? They're toys. I don't think I have time to explore this right now. I still don't understand. Deciding the sexuality of the character. One of the worst things about the communities is deciding the sexuality of the character. Because in the games, you can play as either a male or female protagonist. People usually decide the sexuality of characters based on what they like in real life. But there are people that are straight up get mad when someone ships a character they like with the male-female saying things like, she's a lesbian, dummy, or he is gay. Stop shipping him with that female. Well, isn't like Fallout like that? I told you during my Fallout reactions, I watched somebody play Fallout. Quite a bit of the gameplay. And I think you start out, there's a man and woman, they're married to each other, and there's a baby. And depending on which one you pick, the other one gets murdered. So if you pick the guy, the woman has a baby in her chamber, and she gets murdered, and the baby is stolen. If you play as a woman, the man has a baby in his chamber, and he gets murdered, and then the baby is stolen. Spoiler alert. For a game that came out about 10 years ago, I think. So, also Skyrim, I think most of these games these days, I also watch somebody play Skyrim. Most of these games these days, you can just decide whatever you're saying. The guy I watch, he always picks a female character because he thinks it's badass. Yeah. So, I guess like if most people would pick us, but see, really no. With Fallout, they're two separate characters though, right? There's a guy and a girl. There's a man and a woman. There's a husband and wife. So it's not one character that changes gender on what you pick. You're just picking a character to play. So that's actually not the same thing. This is that you have a character with a name like Tracy or whatever, and you get to pick which gender they are. So that's where the confusion comes in. If Tracy is almost always a girl, and you make him a guy, then people are like, hey, why is Tracy trying to smash Lexi over here when every time I play Tracy, it's a woman and she's trying to smash Brad, right? What the hell are you doing? I conceptualize what you're saying. I do think it's really deeply stupid, but I do conceptualize what you're saying. So that makes sense. Yeah, that would be really annoying. It should be easy to follow. Like for me, I just had to wrap my mind around it, but it should be easy to follow, I think. All right, the next comment comes from D4C. What I find with people who say, you quit right when it gets good. is they're lying. Oh, well, I mean, are we talking about malicious lies, or they just want to coax you along because they like you and they really believe what they're saying? I don't know. We'll let him explain. It never gets good. You lying bastards. They just want you to have a come to Jesus moment when it all falls into place and you suddenly love everything about it. Okay, well, let's stop there for a second. But what if you do, though? Like, you're making this out like this is some insidious plot. They're trying to manipulate you, like they want you to pay for dinner. So they talk about how great you'll love this restaurant. If you actually love the restaurant, you're going to pay for dinner. No, it's like they want you to have a come to Jesus moment where all falls into place and then you suddenly love it. Well, if you love it, that's good, right? That's a beneficial thing. Like, now you love this anime. And they want that for you. Like I said, it's like you evangelical. Almost forgot the pronunciation again. It's evangelical. Like they just want you to be as happy as they are. They want the best for you. They want you to be as happy as they are, right? I read My Hero Academia up to what would have been the anime's 7th season. And I remember complaining a lot about how it's just not that good, and the anime-only watchers called me a stupid mother effer. God damn, that doesn't sound like they want the best for you. They don't want the best for you. They don't want you to love something that they love if they're calling you a mother effer, and stupid as well. Like, it's not just a mother effer. Like, you're not just smashing your mom. You're also dumb. They don't want the best for you. Like, I take it back. Who doesn't know what I'm talking about? Bakugo gets better, just keep going. They're lying. He never gets better and never directly apologizes for telling Midoriya to kill himself. Well, a couple things there. Let's take them one at a time. If you're up to season 7, you're that far into the manga and you don't love these characters. I know I'm going to keep saying this. If you're that far and you don't love these characters, get the hell out. Pull the goddamn ripcord, man. 20%, that's the rule. So, each season is, 24 episodes approximately? Let's parse that out real quick. Okay, so there's 159 episodes, which means 31 episodes would be 20%. So you would get basically halfway through season 2. You're up to season 8. If you don't love the characters, get the hell out. That's all I can tell you. So there's that. Also, Bakugo gets better, just keep going. They're lying. He never gets better, and he never directly apologizes for telling Midoriya to kill himself. Yeah, 100%. I don't like him. I've never liked him. He's okay. He doesn't apologize to Midoriya, so he can go after himself. Maybe he will before the end of the series. Maybe he'll do it when he's dying. But, I don't like that shit. Being bullied as a kid and fighting back and getting, worse punishment because I was dare fight. How dare I resist, right? He hit me, Yeah, after you hit me 17 times or you tripped me and pushed me down a flight of stairs. Yes, I hit you. You're going to blame the victim. But this ain't about my trauma. I'm just saying, that's why I've never, in all my reactions, called him Deku. Because that's Bag's name. I'll just call him Bag. That's Bag's name for him. And it's an insult. And yeah, he's like, I turned the insult into a hero name that everybody loves. F you. You pick your own name. You don't accept an insult name a bully gave you. I don't give a shit what the backstory is, what the nuance is, and that he's a hero who wants to save people. He still bullied you. He still told you to go kill yourself. So, we're 100% on the same page with this. I don't like him. The best he can do, as far as I'm concerned, is die saving somebody's life, specifically Midoriya. That would be great. I love this show. My Hero Academia is one of my favorite shows I've ever watched. I love it because I love the characters. You're this far and you don't love the characters, get the hell out. That's all I can tell you, man. The people, I just don't think that it gets good if you don't love the characters. I think I've really come around on this. I didn't used to believe this. I used to be well, you just keep watching Fringe and you'll love it. But, the dude was almost through season 2 of Fringe. If he doesn't love the characters by then, he's never going to. Get out. If you don't love the character, man, you're almost done with it. There's only going to be one more season. You might be within 50 issues of the manga to the end. Get out, man. Like, you should be loving this. You should be not, can't wait to read the next issue. If you don't, get out, man. Like, just, you're wasting your time. So that's how I see it anyway. But yeah, we're on the same page with that son of a bitch, because F that guy. All right, and then the last two comments are from Marakeo. For me, the answer is obvious. If I have to choose, I would choose watching the Avatar The Last Airbender cartoon from the start, given its sheer quality when comprised of the mediocrity of the live action, though the live action stands on its own if you haven't seen the cartoon. By the way, here's a question. Not a criticism, just a question. Why do so many people call it a cartoon when it's an anime? I know the two words are interchangeable, but nobody calls One Piece a cartoon. Nobody is sitting there calling Naruto a cartoon. They call it an anime because that's what it is. Is Avatar The Last Airbender not an anime? Is it actually a cartoon? Or is it, in America, it was shown on Sunday morning with all the other cartoons and people just conflate it with the cartoon because they saw it with all the other cartoons? Is that what that is? Is it like you just grew up calling it a cartoon? I don't know, but this is the only anime I've ever seen where people consistently... There was another comment here in this actual video where they called it a cartoon. I changed the word to anime when I read it out loud, I think. But they called it a cartoon. Why? I'm just curious. Why is that? Like, why does... maybe is it not an official anime? Was it a production, American production or something? And, you know, like it's anime-ish, or it came from a Japanese manga, but it's an American cartoon? Is that what's going on? I'm not sure. Let me know. That could explain the tone issues I have with it. Because the Americans, the filthy, rotten Americans who adapted the manga, made it super childish when it wasn't supposed to be. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. So, although I would recommend at least getting to episode 12, which is ironic because I said I got to 11, so you're like, just one more. If you can make it just one more, you will fall in love. So that's when it really starts to pick up steam in terms of writing quality. Well, judging by my own metric, I said you have to watch 20%. We'll get to that, by the way, with the subject of the main podcast is rage quitting. We will be talking about my metric. Believe that. It does say American animated series. American animated series. Is it actually an American production? Interesting. I don't have time to delve into that. I'm just trying to look at how many episodes it had. 61 episodes. So, boy, are you good. You're really good. You know why? 11 episodes, according to this calculator, is 18% of 61. You know what 12 episodes would be? 20%. Now, unfortunately, I don't remember the first 11. I would have to go back and rewatch them. But, literally, you're telling me the 12 episode benchmark is almost, it's a little bit over probably. It's a little bit over 20%, but that would hit the mark. I'm under the mark right now. That would hit the mark. I'd rather be lucky than good. You were really lucky and really good. So, that's hilarious. Anyway, I just did a tier list of episodes for myself. 0 to 10, and none got below 4. And 14 of the 20 episodes from season 1 are 4 to 7. 15 of the 20 episodes from season 2 are 6 to 9. And 16 of the 21 episodes, I guess I would have gotten the episode count here if I just kept reading, from season 3 are 8 to 10, with the other 5 being 6 to 10. As you can see, without spoiling anything, it gets you an idea of why you didn't enjoy the show as much as people say you should have. Well, also, you got to fall in love with the characters, right? That's going to be my mantra moving forward. I really think that's what it is. And I don't. This was the first year I was reacting when I did this. I wasn't I don't think I was comfortable with subtitles at that point, and I wasn't as comfortable reacting, and it was harder for me to engage with the characters back then. You know, like I started watching You, and I didn't enjoy it. I think the views were also trash, but like, there's some shows I want to revisit from that first year. You know, and it took me a while to get into the groove of reacting. So it's possible that this fell into that. So I'm definitely open to giving it another shot. I went back and watched your reactions to episodes 1 through 5, and even though Avatar is my favorite show I've ever seen, and I think it's the best show ever, only one of those 5 is a 7 out of 10. Whereas the other 4 are a 5 out of 10, so I can understand why you didn't like it that much. Besides the immaturity and you being drunk as... What the hell? Besides the immaturity and you being drunk as F... I was drunk as F. Maybe I drink less now during my reactions. You know, keep it 100. I'm getting too old for that shit, and I'm too broke. I can't afford the kind of drinking I was doing back then. Right before I started my reaction channel, I bought so much alcohol because I had money back then, right? I bought so much alcohol that they had to give me paperwork to transport it from the liquor store back to my house, and they wouldn't have done it, but like this was during the thing, the big C word that they will demonetize you for saying here on YouTube. The disease. And I told them I wasn't leaving the house for a year. They said, because I brought a shopping cart filled with bottles of liquor. Like, it was like over $200 I spent. I bought a shit ton of alcohol, right? And I told them I'm not leaving the house for a year. There's no way to like really get mail order alcohol. Like, there are a few ways, but not many. They said okay, but they had to give me, because I wasn't legally allowed to transport that much alcohol without paperwork. So they gave me authorization via paperwork to take that from the bar back to my house. I wasn't stopped by the cops, but if I had been, I had the paperwork, right? And so I was drinking like a mug back then because I had a lot. Now I don't. I've got 4 bottles and a bunch of like those little bottles. That's about it. So anyway, back then I would guess I was getting a lot more hammered than I am now, and thinking everything is sexual. The hell? I don't remember thinking anything about the show was sexual. I guess I was drunk and trying to be funny. Those reactions sound terrible. These sound like terrible reactions. I think I just need to restart the show from the beginning. Pretend I never reacted to it. I won't remember it anyway. I just remember being immature. I don't remember any plot details whatsoever. But if I'm making sexual jokes like that, and I'm just hammered, those sound like truly awful reactions. I think I have to scrub them from the internet. I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to do that after I finish recording it, because I can't have that out there with my name attached to it. Though I would argue that immaturity is a necessary part of the plot that was purposeful and strategically baked into these episodes. Yeah, you need a place to go. It's like when a character starts out as a douchebag. I never liked Sawyer on Lost. I still don't like him after watching it 20 times. But they definitely did a character arc where they made him truly bad to start with and slowly redeem him over the course of the series. So that's a thing. That's what you got to do. You got to start bad so you can be good, or start good so you can be bad in the case of Breaking Bad. So I get that. I understand that. Given that the show was thought out in its entirety from the start, and I know, how can it be the best show ever if not all the episodes are the best ever? Well, I mean, it's only 2 episodes longer than Breaking Bad. I think it depends on how many episodes you have. It's 2 episodes longer than Breaking Bad, but it's half the runtime of a Breaking Bad episode. So it's less screen time than you have in Breaking Bad. That leaves you less room to have bad episodes. But bad is subjective, right? Bad is subjective. Is it bad when you rewatch it? It sounds like you're saying it is. But, for instance, there are things Sawyer does in season 1 that were intolerable the first time I watched them. But then when I saw the entirety of his character arc, I knew what they were doing. And it was much more enjoyable the second or third, fourth time through. So, because you know what they're doing. But, like, I'm never going to like the fart jokes. I do remember they had fart jokes. It's just immature. It's 8-year-olds think that shit's funny. Can we get to the damn plot? You're wasting my time with this shit. So, some of that. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm gonna revisit the anime at some point. I don't know when. Not anytime soon. I'm a little tired of the older anime. I want to get more into the modern stuff, and then we can go back to the older stuff again. There's a few old ones I still haven't done. I want to get back to Bleach at some point. I will. That's going on the back burner. And this will be on the back burner, but I will do it at some point. And my answer is the quality level it gets it up to is higher than any other show I've ever seen, by far. Including One Piece, Game of Thrones can be incredible, despite the final seasons. Oh, well, including One Piece. For example, Game of Thrones can be incredible during the final seasons. Except for the final seasons. Jesus. I can't read today. And I'm not drunk. I haven't had anything to drink yet. So, here's, this is such a nuanced conversation, and it's probably personal to each individual person, each individual of the 7 billion people on this planet. So it's probably an impossible conversation. But if you love the characters, no episode is bad, right? There's an episode in season 5 of Buffy where it's basically just Willow and Anya bickering. And most people don't like it. I love it because I love the characters of Willow and Anya. So, yeah, is the plot great? No. But, like, I just think the characters are more important than the plot. You got to have good plot. You got to have good things going on. You can't have people being morons. Shit has to make sense. You need worthy adversaries. You need interesting villains. With the Monster of the Week format, they need to be interesting every week. I get all that. But I think you love the characters. And what carries you through the whole thing is the characters. So you love the characters, and you have these really high peaks, and so you don't mind the valleys as much, I think is what we're saying here. So that's when it's a boring... Once I've said it's the characters for the 5th or 6th time, it gets boring. But like I think that is the truth. That's what's going on here. And finally, for the feedback video, Dragon Ball Evolution, this is also Mada Koya. Dragon Ball Evolution was the shitty live-action movie which came out in 2009 and butchered the hell out of everything. On par with the Avatar The Last Airbender live-action movie in terms of pure shittiness and butchery. I would hang that comment on my wall. I love the vitriol. I love the vitriol and I love the cussing. So I would hang that on my wall. That's a great comment. And it clarifies. I know somebody else already clarified that, but this was a good clarification. All right, well, now I'm going to turn to the Q&A for the actual podcast episode. Okay, here we go with the other one. I noticed something right off the bat. I wasn't very clear about this. Your time predictions cover both videos every time, right? So you only make one prediction. Because Hunter Stone made a prediction in both videos, I see. I'm going to go with his prediction from the first video, the feedback video, because that's the one I saw first. Also, I think he has a really good chance of winning. I won't know till I get into editing, but I think he has a great chance of winning. And if it doesn't win, and he wins with this comment, I'll allow it this one time because like I wasn't clear. Otherwise, I'm going to disregard this one and just go with the other one. So I'm trying to game the system to help somebody win, but you can only leave one comment. It doesn't matter which video you leave it on. Did Ariel? I don't think Ariel. I see Ariel has one here. I don't think she did one for the other video. But yeah, you can only leave one prediction and it covers both videos. So you have 2 chances to win. Basically, you're getting 2 bites at the apple. So, I just think it'd be harder. What if your time for this video was perfect for the other video, but not for this one? Like, you're increasing the odds against you if I make you do a prediction in each video, right? You're increasing the odds against. I know it'd help me with more comments, but really I'm just trying to make the odds better for people, not worse. So anyway, that aside, let's go ahead and get into the comments. We're down to kill code here. I think you should probably, this whole thing went off the rails. I talked about all these different these different animes I was going to watch, and ended up watching completely different ones for the most part, because Kilko's talking about one of them right here. I don't remember. There's something about Kill Your Ghost or some shit that I was going to watch, and I ended up not watching it. And I think I was going to watch, he mentioned this too here. I think you should probably just stick to your original 2 anime, Hirakura and Gachakuta, just because I'm biased and like those 2 the best. Though I wouldn't mind switching Hirakura for and maybe watch Hirakura for a Halloween event or something. The hell is this? I've never seen this before in my life. What is this Hirakura shit? I've never seen that before in my life. I can do a second wave, and I probably will, because there were a lot of good suggestions. This is one, these 2. I'm intrigued by this Gachakuta thing, because if it's like the game, how the hell did they make that into an anime? What the hell is that? I'm curious just for that reason alone. Is it the summer Hirakura died? That I remember. So far, only 7 episodes have been released of that. I wonder if he dies at the beginning of the series as a ghost or something, or comes back to life, or if this is a 13 Reasons Why This TV Show Sucks, where it's like they're dead at the start of the series, but then we go into flashbacks to explore how they died the summer before he died. It can go either way. I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued by both of these. I should try to circle back and get those, because 2 of these are not doing well. The Guild Receptionist, which is probably my favorite one I watched, is getting terrible numbers. It's getting smashed. And then Dress Up Darling is also getting smashed. Yeah, right now, Dedan, and Solo Leveling are running away with this. There's only 1 like each for Dress Up Darling and Guild Receptionist. Very sad. Very terrible numbers. Of course, it's always the show I like the most. I love Fairy Tail. I watched 1 episode of Fairy Tail. I loved it. It was a favorite pilot I ever watched of anything. Man, it got shit numbers. It got negative numbers. The viewership of that video was so bad it made videos around it suck. Like, that just, what the hell, man? Why is it the shit I like that nobody wants to see? I don't know. I mean, somebody paid me to watch Love is War, and that's one of my favorite anime ever, so I do get lucky sometimes. But whenever I do these contests where I do 4 different shows, the show I like always gets boned. Just, I don't know why, man. I have shitty taste, I guess. I only mention Leviathan because you've seen the creator's other shows, but I would rather you have watched something better. Ooh, really? Damn, that's some shade, man. You're really saying, like, he did 2 bangers, 2 of the best anime I've ever watched in my life, Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, and just lost his talent? He just stopped being good when he made Leviathan. Like, he sucks now. Like, well, it happens. Dinar Kuntz's first 10 to 15 novels were great, and boy, does he suck now. Speaking of rage quit, I rage quit that sumbitch. I haven't read one of his books in like 20 years now. He blew chunks, but he started off so good. I guess he burned out, The fame got to his head or some shit. Dan Brown's early novels are better than his later ones, because fame got to his head. Da Vinci Code was so popular, he never had to write another book, and so now he's just doing it for himself, right? He's doing it to make money, so he doesn't have to be good anymore. I wonder what his bibliography even looks like these days. Oh shit, I thought he died. He got divorced in 2019. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's a kind of death, just not the kind I was thinking. That son of a bitch has only written 8 novels his entire life. That is crazy. He's on that Thomas Harris thing where Thomas Harris does like 1 novel every 7 or 8 years. And the publishers put up with it because they're all these bangers, right? And they do really well. The Da Vinci Code was his second Dan Brown novel. And from there on, 2003 is when that blew up. I remember I couldn't go into a bookstore without seeing Twilight with the apple and the Da Vinci Code with the symbol. Everywhere I turned, there was those 2 effing books. Everywhere, in my face. Just any bookstore I went to, they were always right in front there. You walk in, you see the goddamn apple, and you see the stupid ass symbol. And it's just everywhere, man. Everywhere. I could not go anywhere without seeing Twilight or the symbol. Finally ended up reading Da Vinci Code, and it was really good. I enjoyed Da Vinci Code. People shit on it, but I'm not a historian, so I don't care. I like all his books. I've read Digital Force, Deception Point, Angels and Demons, Da Vinci Code, and The Lost Symbol, and I stopped there. I haven't read anything since then. Gotten busy. But he's done Inferno, Origin, and The Secret of Secrets. It took him 6 years to do the sequel to Da Vinci Code because the popularity got to him. Before that, he was writing a book every 2 years. It took him 6 years. It took him twice as long because people criticized him. And he was formulaic. But people criticized him, so he had to internalize the criticism. I feel like he rewrote the Lost Symbol from scratch. And I could tell because it was a different format than it had been before. He always tries to make his villains a secret. And in this, The Lost Symbol, he just made it obvious from the beginning. He's like, I'm not going to try to make it a secret because that's what everybody complained about. He tried to make it a secret, but it'd always be obvious who the villain was. So this time, he just told you right up front, which is a smart move. But then it took him 4 years, and now 8 years. He did Origin, and now it took him 8 years, and that one's coming out in September. It's coming out next month. 8 years. He's on that Thomas Harris thing. Because he doesn't have to do it anymore. So, point being, He's really good, and I don't know if Dan Brown has dropped off in quality, but I know that the fame went to his head. The level of criticism leveled against Dan Brown from Da Vinci Code made him change up his whole writing style, and it took him twice as long to finish a novel. Because when he first put out Da Vinci Code, he was already working on the next novel. He had been working on it for a couple of years, and then it just blew up, and then he got all this criticism, and it made him rethink everything and question himself and all that shit. So I don't know. I haven't read anything since Lost Symbol, but we've seen it happen. I'm trying to think. I think James Cameron, to a certain extent, the same thing kind of happened to James Cameron. I called it James Cameron disease. I used to talk about back during that between 2003 and 2009 when Dan Brown had not put out another novel. I said he had James Cameron disease. Something you do gets so unbelievably more popular than anything you've ever done in your life that you can't function. You can't create content anymore. You know, I mean, the people that did the Blair Witch Project, I've talked to a couple of them, and they had that problem. They really liked what they did before that. They had done some other stuff. And then they were creatively bankrupt for years after the Blair Witch because you feel like you have to top what you did when you should just do the next thing you were going to do if this hadn't gotten popular. That's what I would do, right? You know, who knows? I will never know. I'll never be popular. But the kind of popularity we're talking about where it's like you suddenly are a household name when you've been working for 10, 15, 20 years. Samuel L. Jackson had been acting for 20 years. He does Pulp Fiction, now he's a household name. George R. R. Martin had been writing for 30 years. Game of Thrones gets turned into a TV show and suddenly he's the biggest thing that's ever been made. It may have been the books or more. I think the books blew up first. But he blew the hell up. Over the course of about 3 to 4 years, he went from just another science fiction fantasy writer to one of the most household name writers. How many writers are household names? A couple dozen at the most. Everybody knows their name. Even if they don't read their shit, they know their name. There's only a couple dozen writers that are like that. You know, James Cameron, it took him so long after Titanic to do Avatar because, you know, he was so big, so popular, his next thing has to be awesome. And James Cameron, I would argue, has never been as good since then. Since Titanic. That was his high watermark. So it's possible, I guess, that you could have a manga writer have two things just explode and be considered one of the greatest ever, especially when we're talking about short run things. With One Piece, he's still doing the same story. So he never had to top the story. Now he has to make the story better, but the story's coming towards the climax, so it's just naturally going to be better than it was earlier. The last arc, the last act of like the act 3 of a movie is always better than act 1 and 2 because it's the climax. Everything's coming to a head. The villains are meeting, the antagonists and protagonists are meeting. They're confronting each other. They're fighting. You get a conclusion. People die. The object is retrieved. You find out the answers to the mysteries. The third act is always better than the first 2 acts, even if it's mediocre. It's still going to be better than the first 2 acts. The ending of One Piece is going to be better than what came before automatically because it's the ending. People may think it dropped the ball. People may think it sucked or shit the bed or whatever. It'll still be more exciting than the first 2 acts of the story. So he doesn't face this. When he will face this is in 25 years when he finally finishes One Piece and he tries to do something else. What did J.K. Rowling do after Harry Potter? She completely changed the genre. And she made a couple of shitty adult mystery novels. Because she couldn't write another kid's book. If she tried to write another kid's book, she was at least smart enough to know that if I try to write another kid's book, there's no way it'd be as popular as Harry Potter. So, you know, she didn't even try. You know, kind of a coward's way out. Dan Brown didn't start writing, you know, westerns. He stayed with the character, whatever that guy's name is, and he tried to do more historical mystery things. You know, you think there's only so many of those you could do, but he's done like a bunch of them now, like 6. He keeps finding historical stories to tell, right? So, you know, Odo hasn't faced what do you do after One Piece. I don't know what the hell he's going to do. If it was him, I would retire. Like, you've created a world-class masterpiece. Anything else would be a step down. But it's okay to be a step down. Well, you know, actually what I would do if I was him, if he loves to work, I would do a bunch of short stories. I would do a bunch of 12-issue mangas Each one takes a year. Little short stories. Do them in the One Piece universe. Do them out of them. Probably out of them is what I would do. Do a different genre. Maybe do something adult if you want to. He loves the kids, so he probably just stay with the kids stuff. But like, that's what I would do. Because you're not even trying to do another magnum opus, and nor would you want to, and you don't have the time in your life to do that. Just do a bunch of short stories. Take a couple years off. Off the top, take a couple years off before you do anything else. Say he's 55 when he finishes. Take a couple years off. Do a short story series, a short series, 12 issues or whatever. Maybe do the entire series during your years off. You're writing, doing a couple panels here, a couple panels there. Maybe you get a couple issues finished. You finish the entire thing before you let anybody know you're even working on anything. Write 12 issues, story completely done, and then walk into the publisher one day. Here you go. Release them over the next 12 months, and go ahead and do an anime of it if you want to. Give me my check, right? That's what I would do. So then he wouldn't even have the pressure of when's the next issue coming out. He'd be done. There would be no pressure, just a little labor of love. During his 2 or 3 years off, maybe once a week or once a month, he writes a page, right? He does a page. Eventually has the whole thing finished. That's what I would do. I mean, I'm not the genius that he is. He's a genius. And he's got to be a workaholic. So I couldn't, if I got $10 billion tomorrow, I would take a month off. Believe me. I would have it. Bless you all. I'm turning all my Patreon to free. Everybody has free access to everything. I'll never need another Patreon dollar. And I would take a month off. And when I came back, I'd have an actual ass studio with assistants and good equipment. But I would still be recording reactions because I love it. I'm a workaholic. I love to do it. I would just not, the shit I don't like doing, editing's okay. But I'd have computers just devoted to the editing and just devoted to exporting and all that shit. And I'd do a final pass of the edits, have other people do the rough drafts. I'm a control freak, so I want to have a pass. But, other than that, man, like, I'd put out a lot more shit than I am now. I would work more, not less. But it'd be all the fun shit. The reactions are what I actually enjoy. I'd love to be like the normies or the blind way. You come in, do 8 reactions, go the hell home, and somebody else takes care of the rest. That'd be great. But, yeah. Would it, though? With me being a control freak, probably not. Like, I don't know that I'd ever farm out the editing. Even if I could afford it, because I'm a control freak. So... Anyway, I find it hard to believe that Leviathan sucks, given his track record, but it's possible. We've seen it. We've been talking about it for 10 minutes. We've seen it. It can happen. So that is very interesting to think about. And, what you think sucks, I might not think sucks, and vice versa. So that's possible as well. But clearly you're a fan of the other 2 shows, and you didn't like this one. So that is interesting. All right, Power Death is going to be the next 3 comments. I watched both of your podcast reactions on Patreon before I saw the podcast, and I was kind of surprised you were reacting to those. Yeah, the first 2 were, I'm going to get you, sucker, because I'm a guild receptionist, and my dress-up darling were the first 2 I did. Those are the 2 that are doing ass ratings. It's weird. The 2 I did 10 days ago, right after the podcast, they're ass. Like, the views are ass. Like, less than 3. And only 1 like each. The other 2 are balling, man. And I just did those yesterday. They are balling. They're out there hitting threes, blocking shots, running all up and down the court, man. They are just kicking ass. And the first 2 I watched are sitting on the sidelines drinking water because they're already exhausted. It's just sad, man. Sad. Yeah. You're surprised because these shows apparently suck. I mean, I thought Guild Receptionist is one of the best things I've ever... It's the best first episode of anything I've seen since probably the first episode of Fairy Tail, the first episode of Kaguya Love is War, maybe the first episode of Attack on Titan was really, really strong. Some of these shows take a while. The first episode of One Piece sucked ass. It was okay. It was high. It was okay. There was nothing. If it hadn't been for the hype, I wouldn't have kept watching. It was pretty mediocre, especially compared to later. But even just on its own as a thing, the One Piece pilot sucked. So, Great Teacher Asenka was a great pilot. But yeah, the Guild Reception was a very strong pilot, man. Y'all some haters, man. You're haters. It's a great show. At least the one episode I saw. Maybe it sucks later. I don't know. I've only seen half of 1% of the show. So, y'all some haters. All right. I would say instead of specific anime that had the most annoying fan base, this is the thing. I just started talking about fan types rather than anime because that was a much better conversation. I'm glad I made that pivot. There are types of fans that I find incredibly annoying instead. Yeah, hit me with it. Two types I find annoying are power scalers and shippers. Power scalers are people who act like X is always better than Y, even if they never fought, and they're in belief that it's 100% fact and nothing you can say to change your mind. Well, there's more than just like power, though, right? Like, that's what these people aren't understanding. There's also maybe I slept like shit last night. Maybe I'm limping. Maybe I just finished another fight. Maybe I haven't eaten in 2 days. Maybe my wife just died or whatever. Like, there's things that characters be going through that can change. Maybe I don't care about winning this fight. Maybe I want to punish myself. I could hate myself right now. So go ahead. Let's have it. Hit me. There can be a lot of reasons why people lose fights even if they're stronger. Motivation is probably the biggest reason of all. I think in most fights, the person who wants to win more will win, regardless of the two people involved. Most fights, not all. Sometimes people like, a 12-year-old will never beat Mike Tyson, even at his advanced age now. I don't care what the 12-year-old looks like. He could be 6'6", 200 pounds. Well, I guess he'd have a chance then, but no 12-year-old's going to be. That's why I said 12. It doesn't, if there's a huge physical disparity, it doesn't matter how much anybody cares. But otherwise, if they're anywhere remotely in the same scale of each other, the one who wants it more is going to be the one who wins. Because the other one just doesn't, they don't have the motivation. They don't care enough. They're not going to risk their eyesight, their brain function, their ability to walk, their rib cage. They're not going to risk these things if they don't give a shit about winning, right? And the other person will. So I think that can be a big factor a lot of times. They're just so stubborn, and this goes back to what I was saying before, though. Some of these people you're talking to probably don't give a shit. They don't even believe what they're saying. They just want to argue. These are the trolls that are on YouTube comment sections, not mine. Like I said, not mine. And I'm not doing a bit. I genuinely can't think of a single person who comments on any of my channels or Patreon who's a dick. I can't think of it. Maybe you are a dick. You're just not a dick here, right? I've never seen anybody currently commenting. There's one person I can think of who used to comment. They haven't commented in a while, so it's nobody you can think of probably. I can't think of anybody who's a dick. So genuinely, I'm not kissing anybody's ass here. Hey, please keep commenting. I need to kiss your ass real good. No, I can't think of a single person who's a dick. Now there are people that leave comments in my shorts because they just blaze through and they never come back. They're dicks. But so I'm talking about other YouTube channels. They just want to troll. They just want to piss people off. They don't care about what we're actually talking about. So maybe you're running into that. But those are usually the stubborn assholes, right? But they're just so stubborn that it feels pointless to even discuss anything with them, which is what I was just saying. I don't talk to these people. You get one comment. If you come back at me crazy, we're done. I have nothing else to say to you. So that's all the time you get. And they barely care about the plot, 100% about the action. There are a few in One Piece, but it's relevant to a lot of other anime as well. Yeah, I mean, they just don't even deserve the time of day, right? Annoying. This next one, the shipping, I'm assuming is going to be more insidious because the power scaling idiots, they definitely just want to argue. I think with shipping conversations, that may not necessarily be the case. They strongly believe what they're saying, or they're really, really invested in the ship, and so they're coming at it from a different point of view. They don't want to hear it. There's a protectiveness that comes with shipping. Like if you're shipping these two people, and we ship people in real life too. There's married couples I root for. I hope they never break up. Like I ship it, right? Rod and Karen, the podcaster, my podcasting heroes. They're one of those couples. I really want them to stay together. But you feel like you want to protect them. Like they have to be protected at all costs. I feel that way about some characters. There's a character in Teen Titan I feel that way about. Let me see, what else? I feel that way about Chopper in One Piece. There's a few others. There's a character in Steins Gate that I feel that way about. Mariushi. They need to be protected at all costs. I will cut somebody out over that character. So I'm not a troll, right? But I still feel very emotionally invested in these characters. That can get a little tricky because they're not assholes; they're just passionate, Then there are the shippers who want two characters to be together and won't shut up about it. I have this friend who would send me pictures of fan arts of two characters just kissing and making out, and I'm like, cool, with sarcasm. One of the pictures he sent had Zoro and Sanji making out like a couple. Well, look, man, they argue a lot. There is a get a roominess vibe to these two. I'm not saying they're smashing. I'm not even saying they want to smash. But if they did smash, maybe they wouldn't bicker so much. You know? You think? You think? There's a lot of belligerent sexual tension. Like, there's a lot of examples you could have used. You could have said Zoro and Chopper. That feels disgusting. Like, I actually feel revolted just saying that. I'm not into bestiality. But, you know, also he's young. But, you know, that feels like a crack ship. Zoro and Sanji isn't crazy. Like, there's something there. They share a lot of screen time. They bicker and argue a lot. They give a shit about what each other thinks a whole lot. When do you care what another person thinks? When you're obsessed with them. Doesn't necessarily mean you want to sleep with them, but that's not off the table. If you care that much what they think. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's there's something here. Anyway, he's not that bad since I've seen worse from strangers on the internet. I'm sure you have. Rule 34. Never look up Robin. Let me just put it that way. Never. I made that horrible, awful mistake one time. Oh, don't look her up. There are people who ship adults with children. Which is 100% wrong and illegal. Yeah, it's just, you know, one of the biggest problems I have with anime is it's so ambiguous sometimes, some of these ages. I don't know what the hell, like we've talked about this. What the hell are the ages we're talking about? Like, how old is this person? Why can't they just say that? Like, a live action show, they will immediately come up, I'm 12, I'm 15, I'm 20, I'm just starting college. Now, you could be just starting college if you're Doogie Howser and you're 14. Or he finished college at 14, didn't he? Something like that. But it gives us some kind of a benchmark. Should we ship it or not? We don't effing know. You know, because it won't give the goddamn age. In Harry Potter, you know exactly how old everybody is at all times. You know, you should know. People, for some reason, think Harry Potter's parents are old. They use like 40-year-olds to show in the movie. They were 21 when they died. Like, they got married right out of school. And they had Harry a year later, and then he's a year old when they died. They were 21. Who is this old-ass person playing him in the mirror? What is that? Who's this old woman? They're in their 40s, man. Like, they were 21 when they died. Get it right. Also, Power of Death. As for old versus new anime, it's kind of hard to argue with which is better. People only remember the very best anime back then. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of trash we will never remember. The worst comedy animes ever came out with One Piece and Naruto and all this shit. We don't remember them, so they won't make the list. You know. Well, new anime in the spotlight, and we're still figuring out which one of the new anime is among the best of the best, and which animes are just mid. Well, the interesting thing about that is, it's almost like two conversations here. There's the conversation of which anime starts better, the new ones. Which one starts better? And then which one sticks the landing. We can't be talking about best anime ever until we see the ending. Before the ending of Attack on Titan, I would have put it in my top 3 best anime ever. After the end of Attack on Titan, it's near the bottom of my top 10. So that the ending makes that much of a difference. So none of these can be graded until they're done. But we can grade how they started. And for me, Solo Leveling and Guild Receptionist of the 4 I watched yesterday, or within the last 2 weeks, had the best starts of the 4 I watched. That doesn't mean they're going to have the best endings. And given the mediocre level of support for Guild Receptionist here on this channel, I don't think they're going to get to an ending. They're going to be canceled before that, probably. Which is too bad, because I really like it. Alright, this next one is from Ariel. If you think people might be annoyed, or maybe you're annoying yourself, with the way you say, wait until you hear the opening theme song for the first season. Uh-oh. The hell does that mean? That's a little scary. If we get to a second episode, which it looks like we will, the numbers currently, I've actually edited most of the video now. I got a little tired of answering questions, so I went to the editing process. Now I'm back. So just way to keep my energy up. So it's actually like 5:23 now. I think I mentioned before I was recording at 11 or something like that. That was the last time I checked. And wow, Guild Reception has got up to 3 views and 2 likes. Holy shit! God, I love that show. Y'all some haters, man. Y'all some haters. If I just wanted to run my channel on the ground, I would do nothing but this show, just out of spite. 'Cause I can't believe you people. Just Dress Up Darling's got 4 views and 2 likes. That was the least of my favorites, but the other 2 are doing great. It is interesting. Did get a dislike. It's got 8 likes and 1 dislike. I guess they didn't like the way I said the title, which is fair enough. And so far, it's got 18 views. And Solo Leveling has 14 views with 6 likes. And between the 2 of those, they also have 4 comments. So, looking good, man. It's trending up. I'm probably going to be doing those 2 shows. We'll see. I'll give it at least 24 hours before I get excited. You know, we can see a horse race suddenly happen, but probably not. But it sounds like I'm going to be doing that show, and at least I like Solo Leveling. I did like that. Man, I wish Guild Reception had gotten anything, man. Anything. Give me any glimmer of hope, man. I get nothing. Oh, well. This one's from Andy. I would like to see you making fun of ghost reactions. And don't worry, no one can say anything mean to you these days because the censorship is out of control. Well, I mean, nobody's telling me to go die. Mainly, they were saying I was being mean. You may have misheard what I said. They weren't. I may not have said it very well either. They said I was being mean, and it kind of made me feel bad. I'll be honest, because I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings. I would hate. I mean, I guess I could see, because I told you there was like a younger woman. She may have been like 20, and then there was like an older man, and they were both really enthusiastic about these ghosts, this haunted house they lived in. And I was pretty vicious making fun of her. I was making fun of her naivete and her believing in ghosts. It wasn't like her appearance, or I don't even remember what she looked like, but yeah, it wasn't a personal attack. But I was being pretty merciless with her ability to believe in ghosts, and I may have said naive moron or something like that. I may have been pretty harsh. I would be horrified if she saw that and it got her feelings hurt, you know. So I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings. Like I said, if Carrot Top ever saw what I said about him, I would apologize. The voice actor for Naruto or any of these voice actors for Yu Yu, I probably wouldn't apologize there because I haven't been doing personal attacks. I just said your voiceover's trash. You suck. Like, that's my job as a voiceover producer, is to analyze the work output and give it a grade, you know? You're terrible. So, I mean, like, that's not a personal attack. If they felt bad, if they were offended, I would be like, well, I didn't mean it that way. Here's what I'm saying, and you know, I don't know. It will never happen. But so what I'm saying is, though, I'm not like it's not like a blood sport for me. I'm not trying to make people feel bad. And these people seem to really take it personally. They cared a lot, and it's possible one or more of them were involved in the show because these were just regular people. These weren't like celebrities who don't look at themselves online. They were regular people, part of some show you've never heard of. It wasn't any of the big ghost shows. It was some random shit, right? Like, just something that wasn't, like, super popular. So, there's a good chance I could see it. And so, I wasn't trying to be mean, and I felt bad when I said that. So, and it's so crazy to me that starting the 13th, an AI will determine if you are an adult or not by what you watch. And if the AI thinks you're not an adult, it will require your real-life ID to continue. I don't understand how the censorship is so severe. Still to the point where I'm typing in a certain way to make sure allowable we should have to be an adult and show ID to comment in the first place. Meanwhile, we should have to be an adult and show out ID to come in the first place. Well, here's the thing. It's like anybody who has monetized their channel had to show their ID. I had to show my ID. The camera took a picture of it, compared it to my face to make sure the ID matches. Looked up my records, I assume I'm a real person. I already had to do that. Anybody who has a channel already had to do that. You know, they already had to verify their age. I had to fill out tax information before they paid me. Like, I had to give up my tax ID number and all these personal details. It took like 20 minutes to fill out this paperwork. All this personal shit. They know everything. My life is a clean, it's an open book to these bastards. So, I guess I just don't see it as a big deal because I've already had to do it. Any channel you like that's been monetized, they've had to bend over and get inspected, right? So, if the rest of you have to show an ID, I'm not really bent out of shape about that because we've already done it. And I was expecting to get doxxed or, I don't know, them to sell my information to China or some shit. And this was over a year ago is when I first got monetized. They scanned my ID and nothing bad has happened as a result of it. So you can always be hacked, right? But it seems a pretty secure situation. Nothing as bad has happened. It's just the world we live in. But yeah, I do think this whole children thing is just an excuse. It's like there's this website where I procure certain entertainment media because streaming services are too expensive and I run a reaction channel and I would like to download shit and just immediately be able to use it. When I was having the screen record, it'd be an hour. I couldn't use a computer. Man, I would be doing half as many reactions a week if I had to screen record everything. Literally half, maybe less. Being able to download these TV shows has been a godsend. But the site where I download it, every single, you have to go in, I downloaded all 3 seasons of From, for instance. I'm going to eventually react to it. So I downloaded all 3 seasons of From. That's 30 episodes. For each one of those individual episodes, before I could download it, I would get to the episode number, click on it. There's a page that says, what format do you want to download it in? And they give you 5 format options. And so I click what I want. I want high def. So I click high def. It takes you to a page. Verify if you're a human. And then there's this code, captcha, whatever. They give you these letters and numbers. And you have to enter in these letters and numbers, lowercase, uppercase, whatever. And in the process of doing this, there'll be 5 pop-up ads that you have to get through. I don't have an ad blocker, don't ask. It's old computer. But you have to get through 5 pop-up ads. So they just sold 5 clicks just on the process of me trying to enter this goddamn information. And that doesn't count each page you go to for what series, what season, what episode. There's pop-ups for those two. So they've already got me for 10 clicks that they've been able to buy or sell to somebody. Hey, here's 10 clicks to your shitty website. Give me $1, right? They've already got, just for one episode, they've been able to get me for 10 clicks. Okay. But the most egregious page for those pop-up ads is this goddamn page where it's you got to enter in, verify if you're a human. Okay. Type in these letters and numbers. So you type them in. And the first time you use the site for the day, this is only the first time you use the site for the day, but the first time you use the site for a day, you enter it in correctly, it takes you to some bullshit page. So then you have to back out twice. First you got to back out to the CAPTCHA page, and then you have to back out one more because now the CAPTCHA's changed because you backed out, right? And then you got to go back to the page again, and there's another 3 clicks you got to get through. Click, get rid of these pop-up ads. So now they got me for 13 pop-up ads for one episode, right? The first one of the day. This only happens the first time, but it's still annoying. Then you got to enter in a fresh CAPTCHA, new letters and stuff. This is every single time I've ever used this site, even with the VPN on, right? So I enter in the new CAPTCHA, and it finally takes me to the download page after 13 pop-up ads and going through the bullshit page the first time. And every single time, the first time you go to the site, it's a bullshit page first. So now I can finally download the episode. So I download the episode, I go back, I go to the next episode, enter another CAPTCHA, get rid of 5 pop-ups. But this time, like I said, it doesn't take you to the bullshit page. It takes you straight to the download page. So through the course of downloading like 5 episodes, I usually do about half a season at a time, right? When I was doing like I'm starting to download White Lotus, and I'm doing some other shows people may want me to watch at some point. So I just download as much as I can, right? When I have the opportunity. Usually when I'm exporting, there's nothing else I'm doing with the computer, I just do this, right? So, for the 5 episodes, they probably have got me for 60 pop-up ads I had to clear out that they were able to get money from because, every time they pop up, it goes to some site that registers, hey, we got it from here, let's give them money, right? But, hey, they're giving me TV episodes for free. They have procured them. It's good quality. I get to use them for free, and it takes me 5 minutes to get the episode instead of the hour it would take me if I'm screen recording. So I'm not complaining. But here's my thing. In no world do I believe they give a shit if I'm a human or a computer. They don't care if I'm a human or a computer. They don't give a fat flying shit. You know why? Because they're a goddamn pirate site, man. You think they give a shit what the hell's downloaded? It's more clicks for them. If I'm a computer, that's more clicks. This computer can get there and give them all these bullshit clicks, and hey, he can be there all day giving you clicks. Computer don't get tired. A computer doesn't get annoyed. They would rather it be a computer. They don't give a shit that I'm a computer. So why do they have a page where I got to prove I'm human before every single download? You know why? Because that gives them another layer of clicks. They get 5 clicks every time I play. Every time I prove I'm a human being, they get 5 clicks. So they don't give a shit that I'm a human being or I'm a robot. They don't care. There's no world where I will ever believe they care. So it's bullshit. It's a facade. It's a bullshit premise so that they can get more money. Because everything's about money, especially on the internet. So, does YouTube give a shit if how old people are that are watching their shit? No, they don't give a shit. Nothing will convince me they give a shit. So somehow they're making money off this. I don't know if they're making money selling IDs. I don't know if they're making money proving that they will now have immunity from prosecution so they can't be sued. Maybe they're worried about being sued, and they make more money if they're not being sued. So they got the age verification where, okay, you can prove your age, we can't be sued because we did this process. Hey, look, here's the paperwork, we did the process. If they fooled us, they fooled us. Get with the person that gave them the fake ID. Just don't sue us. They're making money somehow. There is that money motive behind this because I don't believe this soulless corporation gives a crap who watches what when. I don't believe it. Anyway, here, you're saying the same goddamn thing. And the thing is, it's not about the kids. They don't care about the kids. It's about the government keeping a digital footprint of you as a person and controlling what you see. Well, I don't know, man. We're in it now. Big Brother's there. How many times if you go out in public, how many times you're photographed when you're out in public? Go to a grocery store, I get a discount. Right here, with this Food Lion receipt, I spent $35.25 for groceries, and I saved $13.60. And I saved that $13.60 because I scanned my Food Lion card, and I got discounts on all this shit that was marked. You get this 2-for-1 for this, and you get 50% off here, and 75% off here, or $1.50 off here if you scan your membership card. At the beginning of every month, they print out coupons that are catered to exactly what the kind of shit I order. They don't give me coupons for Pop-Tarts because I don't order Pop-Tarts. They don't give me coupons for wine because I don't buy wine. They don't give me coupons for corned beef hash because I don't buy corned beef hash. They give me coupons for exactly what I purchase. They keep track of what I purchase. The grocery store knows what I purchase. The phone knows the websites I visit. The computer knows everything I'm doing on the computer. Our lives are open books. They know everything. So who gives a shit if they know a little bit more? I'm old. I'm in it. We are about 15 years too late to stop the government from knowing us. There are people that saw this coming back in the late 90s, early 2000s who kept themselves offline. And those people exist. I don't know if anybody who has no digital footprint is younger than 40. I bet anybody who is younger than 40 has a digital footprint. There are people who have kept themselves off. I know a couple of them. They have no online presence at all. You search their name, you find jack shit. There's nothing. They have intentionally kept off all the social media. They've never, joined it. They don't have any of these memberships with the grocery stores, and there's also the gas station memberships where you can save money but they keep track of it. They know all the gas you buy. They know what your mileage is. They know how much you. The insurance company has a way, like if you put this app on your phone, it monitors how fast you drive, where. So it knows whether you do the speed limit. The insurance company has an app on your phone that you volunteer into. I don't own the car, but the guy that owns the car, he has an app on his phone. He volunteered into this, and his app is always active. So it knows where his car goes. It knows how fast. Was it going 60 in a 55 mile an hour zone? Cool. Was it going 80 in a 55 mile an hour zone? It knows. And if you keep a record for 6 months of safe driving, they lower your insurance rates. And so that's why he's done it. And I'm a very safe driver. He's gotten his insurance rates lowered 3 straight times because I'm a safe driver. I'm a very conservative driver. So I don't blow through red lights. I don't speed. I'm not driving too fast for conditions, whatever. So the app keeps track of your driving. And there isn't probably a permanent record of that somewhere. So the government can get your permanent record of your driving, your grocery stores, gas stations, pharmacy. Obviously, they're keeping track of all the pharmacy. There are digital. There are your medical, all your medical shit. The tests. They now have digital folders. My best friend has all kinds of medical problems. She's seeing a doctor every week. She's got this digital folder, and everybody she sees has access to it. She just has to give her name, whatever ID number, medical ID number, whatever. Sign an authorization paper. They're allowed to access this app. Well, you think the government can't get into that? Or Big Brother or whatever you think is watching us. They can get into it. So they know your medical history. They know what you eat. They know how fast you drive. They know what you're spending on gas. They know what you're watching online. They know what you're gooning to. They know pretty much everything but what you keep inside your head. So that's my safe space. What I keep inside my head. Everything else I assume is known to everybody. I always assume my camera's on even when the green light's not on, because somebody can hack it. Somebody can access it. So I just assume that's happening, right? I assume my microphone's always on. Same with the phone. I assume the phone always knows what I'm doing, and then they're looking at me through the phone camera. I just assume that's what it is because that's the world we live in. That's how deep we are into this. We're 15, 20 years into this surveillance state, and there's nothing we can do about it. So the goal is, what I said before, safety in numbers. I've talked about this before. 390 million people in the United States, 7 billion people worldwide. They can't watch everybody all the time. Well, now computers, AI can. They are capable of watching everybody all the time. So just live a boring life. That's all I can say. Just be so boring the computer's like, God damn, we ever do something? Hell, man. This dude's bored. Let's go to this other dude, man. Like, this guy's bored. Just live a boring life. That's all I can say. I don't give a shit. Watch me. Just watch me. I want more people to watch me anyway. So here we are. Guess I'm an exhibitionist at this point. Any parent with an IQ of over 15, that's a really low bar. I don't think you have brain function at 15. That is a really low bar. Any parent with an IQ over 15 can set up parental controls easily in so many different ways, and tech companies know that better than the government. So why would they do this? Oh yeah, they get funded big time by the government recently. That's it. Everyone, last little bit of our freedom as individuals is gone. Well, that's been long gone. Freedom. Man, you're on the wrong damn planet. You want some freedom. Better go back a couple hundred years. You had the freedom to invent a time machine and go back a couple hundred years because we ain't got none of that here. I don't think they're being funded by the government to do this. I think they are inoculating themselves against lawsuits. That's what I think it is. I could be wrong, but it seems clear to me the NFL is going through the same thing. They make a bunch of decisions so that they can't be sued. That's what they're worried about, right? Is being sued. And so if they can prove they did the bare minimum, then they can't be sued when some kid finds out how to make a bomb and blows his kitchen up. So that's what I think's happening. I mean, you can find anything on YouTube these days, so I don't know. But like the government already has so many ways to, like I said, they can just find out what you're driving. They can find out what you're eating. They can find out what you're paying for gas. So do they need to pay YouTube to keep track of us? I doubt it. I don't know. They could probably directly, like I said, I'm sure the government can directly access the cameras on our computers in our phones. Like, I'm not a hacker, I don't know, but like they probably can. So what the hell do they need YouTube for? You know, I don't know. Also, Power Death replied to this. Pretty sure Google already knows your age. They're doing this to collect info on stuff like driver's license numbers, etc. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can really go down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole. That's not really the function of this podcast. I did say you can comment on anything, and you can, and I will respond to anything. But I've given my paranoid theory. So, plus, remember, we're talking about paranoia. I believe an asteroid is going to hit the Earth in 2029 anyway. So, you know, hey, government, why don't you take care of that before we worry about what the hell we're doing? You know, we've got, 4 years left. So, you might want to get on that, government, since you're listening to me anyway. I don't know if this is the most crack shit I've ever seen. Oh, God. I don't really seek out fan fiction and fan art, etc., so maybe I just don't intentionally expose myself to what's out there and what I've watched. Please don't. In fact, do less investigation in these areas, and you'll be even happier than you already are, because I did a little bit more, and I'm very unhappy now. But there is one ship I've heard about in a sequel series that I haven't watched that is probably one reason I've decided to never watch it. And I discount it even being completely canonical because the sequel series wasn't even written by the same author as the original. What are you talking about? You talking about Boruto? In the original series, he, quote unquote, is centuries old, but reads as maybe 20 something. Are we talking about Seven Deadly Sins? And she is literally a small child, I think around 8 years old. Jesus Christ, when first introduced. Well, that doesn't sound like anything I've seen. I've always thought of the relationship as foster parent-child. Wait, Kuma and Bonnie? No? Well, she's 12 now. No, that wouldn't be it. So it icked me out to hear that they were a couple in the sequel. And I won't get any more specific in case you ever watched the show I'm talking about, which I would want you to watch the original. So it's something I haven't seen yet. Okay. That's another reason not to watch Dragon Ball. I'm assuming you're talking about Dragon Ball. So, hey, another reason not to watch it. I'll always take another reason not to watch it. I'm kidding. All right, let me see here. This is another one of these where they double the comment, so I'm only going to read it once. But this is Andy. You would really appreciate the Onizuka voice actor in the show if you watched the movie, because in the movies they changed most of the English voice actors, and it would legit make you throw up for how bad it is. Was it a movie or was it a TV show? I think I made that mistake earlier in this video. Was it a movie or was it a TV show? I thought it was a TV show, because I watched the first episode, right? Or was there also a movie? I don't remember. But I think I probably watched it in Japanese. I don't remember that either. It was however I downloaded it. So it could have been an English dub. But I don't know. I mean, it can always be worse, right? Like, I thought the one actress in Naruto was terrible. But then we came to this, and it was even worse. And I'm sure there's even worse voice actors out there in other inferior shows, right? So I really believe that this is just a theory. I really believe that the problem with the English dub was they did not have a director in the studio. They had an engineer. And an engineer only cares about getting the set amount of lines. This has to be recorded in this amount of time. So maybe 6 pages. How many did we do back in the day? I think it was 10 pages an hour. I think we could get 10 pages an hour. I could sometimes do better if the actors were really good. So we'll just use that example. So they had to get 20 pages in 2 hours, and they have to get those 20 pages, and it has to be 2 hours. So there just wasn't very much direction given, I think. You know, and there's a lot of lines in these. You know, you think about how many lines of dialogue are in an episode. It's only 22 minutes, but, you know, think about how many lines there are. They probably, what would it be, 30 pages? So, ballpark, maybe they only had 3 hours to record each episode script. That'd be really. I would think at least 4, maybe 6, would be a way better way to do it. But like, say they only had 3 hours. That's if you have all the actors together, which a lot of times you don't. But I think they just did. They just had an engineer. I just don't. I can't believe a competent voiceover director who ever wanted to work again would have authorized and okayed these performances. It's very hard to believe. Now, maybe the people he works for, maybe he's not scrupulous, and maybe the people he works for, they wanted under budget on time. So they don't care how good the lines are. They don't give a shit. People are going to watch it anyway. They do. People still watch it today. People still love the show today. So they were right. Should they have spent another $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over the course of a series? It was what? Probably more than that. $50,000 or $60,000 for a competent voiceover director to be there the whole time, and then the cost overruns of getting actual good performances. Should they have spent that when what they ended up spending got the job done and people loved the show? Business-wise, I would say no. I think they made the right choice. Ethics-wise, morally, I don't think they made the right choice. I think you should do as good a job as possible. But business-wise, they spent less money and people love the show. People forgive the show for the bad performances. So they made the right call. It's that simple, right? Ariel answered him. I have a few episodes of you to catch up on, but I feel like for the longest time, he hasn't even really heard the delivery for the sister, and the one he seems to hate the voice of the most. Because the moment she starts talking, he talks over it. Okay. I'm actually going to record, after I finish this podcast, I'm going to record some Yu. I make this pledge to you. I won't do that this time, if that's what I've been doing. I will hear her out. Maybe she's gotten better. Because, I don't want to hear it, so I do intentionally talk over her sometimes. I don't want to hear her. It's painful. I just want to whip the ass of the director. I don't know. I don't have that much of a problem with her voice actor. She just makes her come across as lackadaisical and apathetic, very low energy. I think we can all agree she's very low energy. Not sure if those are the right words. I get what you mean. And not really super expressive emotionally, and there are certainly real-life people like that. Now, if that's not how we're supposed to think of her, then it's bad. At least bad voice direction. If there was any voice direction at all. I don't think she's delivering a credible performance. There are people who are low energy. But think of the most lethargic person you've ever known. Now imagine a spider the size of a dog jumped in their lap. What would come out of their mouth? Oh, wow, I guess I should get up. Or would they have any kind of emotion in their voice of some sort whatsoever? Like, she thought her brother was dead and was monotone. Like, just... And there's... I don't know. We're not going to sell this here, but, like... She's just bad, but, like, she could... The thing is, she's bad, but then also, whoever's supposed to be the voiceover director is worse. Or they didn't have one. And that's my guess. I just don't think they had one. We're back to Indy. When people think of Naruto or One Piece fan base as being toxic, they're mostly referring to the fandoms talking about how their show is better than anyone else's, etc. It's all just misinformed people, honestly. Well, that's like saying what you're implying here is there is an objective truth. Yu and Hunter x Hunter are objectively better than One Piece and Naruto. That's your truth. That's not the objective reality. I don't even think popularity is the objective reality, because I had this conversation with a published author one time. I was at the film market, and there was a published author there trying to sell her books, and we were talking about how I don't remember how we got started on this, but I said something that irritated her, and she kind of lashed out, and she apologized for it later and said she shouldn't have lost her temper. And It wasn't really a big deal, but like the result of her losing her temper was she said something very interesting. What she said was, like, I was there trying to sell my shit, but I was not a published author, and I told her this, right? She was there trying to sell her shit, and she was a published author. She'd gotten 4 books published. And so at one point she says to me, look, I've been published, you haven't, so I know more about writing than you do. And I said, the Twilight books have been published, and the, what's that, Touch of Grey, Grey's Anatomy, whatever the hell that Twilight fan fiction got published that supposedly was sexy. Anastasia Steele was in it. Whatever the hell that book was called. I said, that book got published and Twilight got published. And they've sold well. That doesn't make them great books. They are terrible books. Objectively terrible books. So just something getting published doesn't automatically make something good. Right? So I retorted with that. And that really pissed her off. But she had to admit, because she had also read these books, that they were objectively terrible. And that I had made a good point, and that they had been published even though they were objectively terrible. And they were popular even though they were objectively terrible. And her books hadn't sold very well, and they weren't very popular. She had been published. And again, it's not somebody I have any animosity towards. It was a heated conversation. We cooled down. We apologized to each other. It was fine. But I really thought it was interesting that she was quantifying success with the popularity. Success is popular. Quantifying quality with popularity. Just because something is popular doesn't make it good. Just because One Piece is the most popular anime ever doesn't make it the best anime ever. Just because Superman is the top selling comic book in the history of the United States doesn't mean he is objectively the best superhero character. He's just the most popular. Personally, I think the best superhero character ever created is probably Spider-Man. The most relatable for sure, right? Probably the most beloved. But I also really like Batman. I'm liking him more and more the more of those reactions I do. But you can't automatically equate popularity and quality, right? Quality is in the eye of the beholder. And also, One Piece could be the best thing ever written, but if you don't like the characters, you're not going to like it. So does that mean it sucks? No. I don't think just because you like something means that other people are misinformed for not liking it. I think, it's what you connect to. And Andy has connected with certain characters like Hunter and Naruto and Yu Yu for personal reasons, his own childhood, his own upbringing, his own life. The life he's lived means he relates to certain characters in a very specific way. I've been unlucky in love all my life. So I'm going to relate to a character who's unlucky in love. And I tend to like asexual characters because, seeing a successful romance in fiction kind of makes me feel bad about my shitty life and having never had that, right? So maybe one of the biggest reasons I love One Piece so much is it's so asexual. Like, there's none of that there. And aromantic may be even a better way to put it, because I don't mind the sex. It's the romance that annoys me. So it's such an aromantic show that I'm never reminded of my own trauma or my lack of success in life, right? So I am drawn to that. But if a person has had 10 successful romantic relationships in their life, they don't give a shit about what I just said. So maybe they like the shows that have the successful romances, or maybe they're bored with that because they've had plenty of their own and they want shows with unsuccessful romances so they can laugh at the idiots who aren't as good as they are. Whatever. There's so many reasons why we would like a show. There are so many reasons why we would connect with a show that have nothing to do with the objective quality of the show. There's some shows that are objectively terrible. Objectively badly written. The final 2 seasons of Game of Thrones are objectively terrible, objectively badly written. Argue with your mother, like I said earlier. I don't care. Nobody's going to ever convince me otherwise. I've had these arguments on Twitter. But I liked it. Yes, you're allowed to like it. You don't even need my permission to be allowed to like season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones. You don't need my permission. You are allowed to like that. You're allowed to like the last 6 seasons of Walking Dead, whatever, right? I heard that got terrible too. You're allowed to like these things, but you can't say they're objectively good. Those are two different conversations. So to say people are misinformed because they don't like something you like, I think you're missing the point here. People don't like things because of the quality of them. Now, sometimes the quality can either enhance or inhibit your enjoyment of something. I really like Game of Thrones. I love the world building. I love the characters. I really love the characters in Game of Thrones. But I couldn't ride with them for the last 2 seasons. It got so bad. So it can get so bad that can overcome your ability to enjoy it even with you loving the characters. That is true. I don't know if a show can get so good that it can overcome you not liking the characters. So I don't know. Some people want to act like it's a intelligence test whether or not you like something. Oh, you don't like One Piece, you're a dumbass. You like One Piece, you're a dumbass. It's not an intelligence test. It's who do you vibe with? Like there are characters you vibe with, right? Naruto's a spoiled brat. Not even spoiled because of his childhood, but he was really annoying in the early stages of the Naruto anime. But he's a lot of people's favorite character. And they related to that in some way. And of course, he got less annoying because he grew up, right? I mean, Naruto almost has no originality of powers and plot points directly copied from Tashagi's hard work, and I know you think it's just inspiration, but it's not like it's a few things. It's legit everything. The only difference is they are ninjas, and as for One Piece, I can't agree or disagree that it's the best anime of all time, because I haven't watched all of it. But the One Piece fans are always there to make sure you know it's the best. Well, they love it, right? And there are other terrible fans that are in your face, swinging their dick around about how popular, of course there are. That's everywhere. The DC versus Marvel shit. Ooh, this movie grossed this much. That means Marvel's awesome. Oh, this movie only grossed this much. That means DC sucks, or vice versa. Who gives a shit? And so nobody can ever answer the question of what is the best anime. They can only answer the question is, what anime did I love the characters the most in, right? And then we can objectively grade it. There's a lot of objectivity where, the music was really good. The music fit the scenes, right? They're not playing polka when Ace is being murdered, right? So they made competent music choices. Those are things you can grade. You can grade those objectively. But it's going to come down to my broken record that you either love the characters or you don't, and that's going to be most of it. But like I said, it's not everything. The writing can get so bad it don't matter if you love the characters. That's exactly where I was with Game of Thrones. I loved those effing characters, man. I would have laid down my life for some of those characters. That's how much I loved them. Boy, did the writing just shit the bed the last 2 seasons. My God. Started even before that, but those are the 2 worst seasons. So, I think it depends on what conversation you're having. And but you're really specifically talking about bad fans, and so you're saying why they're bad. So I'm kind of not having I'm having a different conversation than you are, really. You're talking about why some fans are annoying, and this is why. Because, my show's the best. If that's your attitude, you're going to annoy a lot of people. So I just want you to know that. Because a lot of people care that what they hold dearest to their heart be considered good. And if you negate that, if you undercut that, if you undermine that, you're going to annoy them. So, I don't know, man. I think that this conversation goes down better if you're talking about who your favorite character is, because then it's really about feelings at that point. And especially for me, my favorite anime character ever might be Mariushi in Steins Gate, and she's had one effect on the plot she had one effect on the plot in 40 episodes and has been a focus of the plot a couple times. But for the most part, she's not driving the action, she's not driving the plot, she's not killing people, she's not saving people. She's just there. But she's a wonderful character. And I would protect her with my life, right? So she may be my favorite anime character of all time, And she's not flashy, and nobody else would pick her. So there's always going to be a personal reason why you pick a character, right? And then, when you only watch the first 100 episodes like me and many, many others, it's definitely not the best. It's nowhere near the best. Can something truly be the best if it's not the whole journey? I don't know. I mean, that's why Game of Thrones novels, the Song of Ice and Fire novels, can never be considered the best because it's never going to be effing finished. You got to finish the journey. You can't grade it. You literally can't grade the story until it finishes, and he has concocted a situation where we can never grade the story because he's never going to finish it. So, that's pretty sucky. But that's the situation there, right? But going by our metric, 20% would be 200 of 1,000, 220 of 1,100, and maybe so 225. You haven't watched 225, so you don't know if you like it or not. So just going by this metric I just invented today and contradicted because I edited the first part. I said 5% before. 5% is ridiculous. I don't know where the hell I came up with 5%. I think 20% is a reasonable number. So if you watch 20% of something and you don't love it, get out. So yeah, ignore that 5% shit I said at first. I don't know what I was talking about there. Wasn't drunk there either. I don't know why. All right. This is Hunter Stone. The next few are going to be from Hunter Stone. Haven't been in school for a couple years, but can't you only have one different variable in a scientific method? So you can't have a separate discussion and a random discussion for this. You should have done both as episode discussions. The hell are you talking about? Oh, the scientific method. Well, that all went to shit. Oh, I was going to use a scientific method to determine which series was fans were more annoying, Naruto or One Piece. And the scientific method went to shit because I just found everybody in Reddit of both fan bases. I found both fan bases to be funny and endearing. And I was wasting too much time, and you were just watching me read Reddit posts. So that was really stupid. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And it all went to shit. So I abandoned the scientific method pretty fast. So thank Christ, because that was dumb. The One Piece and Naruto fan base don't like each other. So that's probably why they were so close in the poll. Naruto people voted One Piece, and One Piece voted Naruto. I don't know why you guys hate each other. I like both shows. Can't we all get along? There's only one show I hate, and I guess I hate the fans. I mean, there's a lot of fans that watch me, so I won't say that. But you know the show I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't hate the. No, I'm joking. I was joking before. I actually don't hate their fans, even though I hate their show. So no Death Note fan has ever annoyed me. So I don't hate their fans. So hating the show doesn't mean you have to hate the fans. So I don't. Why do they hate each other? It's probably just a meme that got out of control. They were having fun. Somebody got their feelings hurt, and it's never been the same ever since. It's a cycle of violence ever since then. That's probably what happened, right? You have too high of standards for shipping. Really. Just let a person have some fun. Why does it matter if it's canonically correct? I'm fine with enemy X hero shipping. Rare pair. RARI? I don't know what the hell that means. Pair shipping. I'm even fine with shipping people across shows. Well, I'm not preventing anybody. We're talking about what's annoying here, right? I'm not preventing anybody from doing anything. I never will. I'm not a controlling person. I don't want to control anybody. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm not trying to control anybody. I'm just saying how I feel. If you're shipping, there's a good chance you're going to annoy me. But that's okay. I'm a grown ass person. I can handle being annoyed, But it is annoying. We were talking about what's annoying, right? I'm not, if I was God of the universe, I wouldn't impose my shipping ideas on anybody else, unless the power went to my head, which it probably would. I'd be a terrible God. But I wouldn't tell them what they can or can't ship. I don't give a shit what they ship. So I wasn't trying to say I was trying to impose anything on anybody. I'm saying why you're annoying. That's what I'm saying. I think of shipping as an alternate universe where nothing has to be canonically correct. I mean, to a certain degree, sure. But you're doing a different show and you're doing different characters at some point, right? Aren't you just creating your own characters from fresh whole cloth at some point? Snape is never going to be Harry's lover. They hate each other, right? Draco Malfoy is an even better example. Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter are never going to be lovers because they hate each other. They can't stand each other. It's not the kind of hate where they secretly, they're secretly hot for each other. It's the kind of hate where they hate each other. They wouldn't mind seeing each other die in a fire, even though Harry did save him one time. And they kind of like, their animosity went out of their relationship at some point. But I'm just saying, it's like, some things don't make sense to the characters as presented in the canon. So that's all I'm saying. Like, if you can wrap your mind around it, but what you're really doing is you're creating new characters, giving them, slapping a coat of paint on them that makes them look like these characters from the show. And you're taking the action figures. You've got some Star Wars action figures, some Star Trek action figures, and some Ninja action figures, whatever. I had all these. And had them play each other. So you'd have Superman, a New York cop, Luke Skywalker, a couple guys from Battlestar Galactica, the original series. And they're all together. And it doesn't make sense that they're all together. And maybe some of them are together, right? I might have done some romance. Probably more like you wanted to save the girl, so they kiss a couple times and she gets kidnapped or something. Emulating what I saw on TV, right? I think that's as far as I ever took the romance. Could have had a couple of romance pairings or whatever. But that's what you're doing. Like, if Luke Skywalker is hanging out with Superman, you're not doing a Superman story, and you're not doing a Star Wars story. You're doing your own thing you made up, and these guys are not Superman and Luke Skywalker. They're other characters. If Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter together, it's not Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter. That's an absolute, but there's only a couple absolutes out there. Like, I can't see Hermione and Draco Malfoy getting together. Like, they hated each other. He thought he was racist. He thought she was a mudblood. And she thought he was, like, one of the worst people who was ever born. Why the hell did they ever get together? Now, we know she has shitty taste in men because she picked Ron. Out of everybody in the entire effing world, she picked Ron. Oh. So, yes, she has shitty taste in men. So, it's possible, I guess. I could probably wrap my mind around that. We know she doesn't know how to pick a partner. That's for goddamn sure. Anyway, most of these ships, like Draco Malfoy and Lavender Brown, they never really had any animosity that we saw. Even though they're different houses, and she's technically good and he's technically bad, I can see that because it doesn't really contradict what we got in the story. My thing is, if you're contradicting what we got in the story, then it's not the story anymore. It's your own story. Just use your own characters, like with the hell was that stupid? I'm gonna have to look it up. Like I keep getting caught on whatever the hell that stupid book was called. 50 Shades. What the hell was I thinking about Grey for? Jesus, 50 Shades. Anyway, so the 50 Shades started out as Twilight fanfiction, right? She just made her own characters and told her own story. See, wouldn't that be the fun part of the shipping and the fan, especially the fan fiction? Wouldn't it be fun to somehow figure out a pretext in which these two characters like Draco and Lavender, how would they get together? How would that work? And figure out that pretext and have them together, and it doesn't contradict what's in the actual canon. Otherwise, just create your own characters and tell your own story. Like, and you can even sell it, right? Like, why do you need these copyrighted characters if you're not going to make them true to the story that they're in? That's how I'm a writer. That's how I see it. Like, people are having fun. I have no problem with people having fun. Ship whatever the hell you want. Write whatever fanfiction you want. A lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of fanfiction. It's a sorry-ass world out there, and some of these people are living miserable lives, and they're unhappy, and the only time they're ever happy is when they're writing their fanfiction. Go with God, man. I want you to be happy. I want you to have that time. That 3 hours a week when you write this fanfiction, and then the 2 hours when you post it, and you get people who like it and give you feedback, and they're enjoying what you're writing, so they can forget about the sorry-ass world for an hour. You can forget about the sorry-ass world for an hour. Go nuts. I have no problem with none of that. I'm just saying, as far as me respecting what you're doing, I just, I think it'd be more challenging and more fun to write it within the confines of the story that has already been told. So somehow you have to work around. If you can convince me, if you can write a fan fiction that convinces me Draco and Hermione fall in love, within the confines, you don't contradict anything that's in any of the stories. Like, it would have to happen after the stories are over. Her and Ron are dating, but they're not together yet. I might even approve of that matchup more than Ron, because that's how bad he is. But if you could convince me, if you could develop a rationale, maybe he gets sick and he goes to her, and She's the only. He knows she's smart. She's the only one who can figure out what's wrong. The doctors have already rejected him. We know Mundungo's hospital sucks, and so he's with her for a couple of months, and she's trying to heal him, and they fall in love through the process of all that. And they address the shit that happened in the books, and he apologizes, and she forgives him, and whatever. If you can do that, man, you've really created something there. If you just ignore what's in the books, then anybody can do that. Anybody can just sit there and ignore what's in the books or the canon. Okay, screw that. Who cares about any of that? This shit they would definitely have to talk about before their first kiss. Yeah, who cares? I don't care about that. I just want to get to the kiss. Anybody, literally anybody, can do that. Show me something, man. Show me how you can work around what's in the canon. That's all I'm saying, really. Shipping does not have to be possible to be fun. Yeah, and if you're just talking about fun, fine. Like that's we're talking about people being annoying too, by the way. So what you're talking about, people having fun and then they're sharing it with their 12 people. I'm never going to see it, so I wouldn't be annoyed if I did see it. I'm talking about the people that are like, I say Hermione should be with Harry, and they get up in my face, you piece of shit, Hermione should be with Draco, So not only are you shitting on what I said, but you're also doing it with a crack ship. So that's annoying. That's what we're talking about. None of these people having fun are going to be in my face about it. So that's what I'm saying. Queer ships are not possible because a lot of the shows are heteronormative. That's true. And that's not really what I'm talking about confined by the canon, because we all know that. That's an exception. There's no way in hell you can convince me that somebody figure out there's 400 people in Hogwarts while Harry's there. Should be more, but the war with Voldemort had killed a lot of potential parents, so they didn't have kids. So it was a down period, and then and when the Voldemort's gone and you get a couple generations, there'll be like 600-800 people in Hogwarts, right? But right now there's like 400. There's 400 kids. You're gonna tell me all of them are straight? Shouldn't there be like let me see, about 60 to 80 gay people out of the 400, something like that. I don't know what the numbers are. I think I've seen somewhere 3 to 5%. So there should be at least 30 to 45 gay people. Maybe some trans, some asexual, some aromantics. Put it all together, we're talking about probably 40 people at least who are not heteronormative. And she doesn't have, Dumbledore's the only gay person. By the way, that whole thing, people knock her so much for waiting till the series is over before announcing that Dumbledore's gay. When I first heard her say he was gay, I was like, yeah, so what? Because he was clearly gay throughout the entire books. I was surprised nobody knew that. Who the hell didn't notice he was gay? This man rolled around in like purple and pink robes. Like, you see the way he moves and operates. You see the way he talks. There's no way in hell you didn't know he was gay. Like, he was obviously gay. He was gay-coded from book 1, man. What the hell are you talking about? Like, yeah, I was an adult reading this shit instead of a kid. I guess if you're a kid reading it, you could miss it, and then you remember your first time reading, so then you keep missing it, even as you get older. I read it as a grown-ass man. I clocked that son of a bitch as gay immediately, man. I don't even have a good gaydar. Like, man, he was clearly, obviously gay. He was clearly, obviously intended to be gay from jump, man. Look at how he dresses. Give me a goddamn break. And even in the 7th book, clearly he was gay for, what's his name? The other evil guy. Griphook or whatever his name was. But, yeah, I don't remember his name. But, yeah, so, like, who didn't know that? But you're telling me he's the only gay character in the entire franchise. Nobody believes that, right? So, in those situations, it was none of Harry's business what the orientation of his classmates are, right? Just like he didn't know, what was it? Oh, people said it was weird that they never in the books announced that Dumbledore was gay. Why would Harry care or know? Why would he know and why would he care? He's a kid. He doesn't care who's screwing who, man, or wants to. So there was no way to put that in the books, unless he walks into the office and sees Dumbledore snogging somebody, some dude is a filch or somebody. Ugh. Flitwick is better. Flitwick. Seeing him snog Flitwick or something. Like, oh, how the hell did he find out? So, of all there are like an entire truckload of criticisms you can levy at J.K. Rowling. This ain't one of them. That dude was gay from day one, man. Like, you'll never convince me otherwise. Like, I knew it the whole time. I was shocked when it was announced. Like, okay, I guess nobody else knew, huh? How? But anyway, yeah. So, in that situation, I don't even see that breaking. That's not breaking canon, right? Because some of his classmates, probably at least one of the 5 dudes he was in the room with was gay. You know, like, I mean, and some of the girls were gay, right? Like, it's just, it's there, it's happened. Statistics prove that they were. He didn't give a shit if Lavender is gay for Hermione or something. He doesn't care. Harry, he doesn't give a shit. So he never noticed. So, if you're going to write that, if you're going to break canon to write a gay coupling in a story that just never addresses it, I don't see that breaking canon. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people have a demonstrable animosity towards each other, and you don't address that when you do your shipping and you do your fan fiction. Like, these people hate each other. That's what I'm talking about. They hate each other. And you don't address that? What the hell are you doing, man? That's all I'm saying. I think you're confusing a crack ship and a rare pair. Maybe that's what he's trying to say up there. Rare pair. It was just spelled weird. A rare pair is just a rare and not very popular ship, such as Sanji and Law. These 2 characters have barely spoken, and see, I don't really know all the verbiage, so I guess you're probably right. Like, I'm using incorrect terms. That sounds like a rare pair. And they have no interest in each other. That's not a crack ship. Crack ship is absurd, disturbing, and highly ridiculous ship. Yeah, that's kind of how I meant it. I still think Sanji and Law qualify. They've never talked to each other. They haven't exchanged 3 words. So you're on crack if you think they're smashing, right? But if you can parse it down more with other labels, that's fine. I guess that's what we're doing. Like Luffy and Lava Admiral. That would be pretty goddamn absurd. Brooke and Laboon? Oh, Jesus. I was meant to pick the middle one. It's about 10 less proof. There's a reason I mix my drinks. Who? I want names and numbers. I'll dox these mother effers. Well, not dox them, but give me a screen name so I can block their ass. I think most people don't think of crack ships seriously like you think they do, but some people are serious about rare pairs. All I'm really talking about is people being annoying. If you're annoying, I have a problem with it. If you're not annoying, I don't. We were trying to parse down exactly why they're annoying, but obviously there's a million exceptions to everything we said. There are people that think One Piece is their favorite show ever, but they're not in your face about it, so they're not annoying, right? I've called it a masterpiece, but it's more the writing than anything else, right? I like that I had the feedback video to watch while I was waiting for the main podcast, so definitely 2 videos. Yeah, it's what I'm going to do. In fact, this one will be published today, Sunday. The next one won't be published until tomorrow, Monday. It's probably the way it's going to go for early access, right? Both of them will be published on Wednesday. But for early access, it'll probably be a day apart, just simply because how long these take. All right, last one, since Ariel did 2, but one of them is a prediction for an F-bomb, which she can still win with the other podcast. I haven't started that yet. I was enjoying watching Bleach with you, but since it's my first time watching as well, I'm not super interested in making you continue, at least for right now. Honestly, I think one less show on your plate might be a good thing for the time being. I agree. Yeah, it's what I needed. It's going to allow me to stay ahead of JoJo. And not be too far behind on Yu Yu, which haven't even started yet. It's Sunday night, so that's gonna be another Monday thing for Yu Yu. But I do like the show. I love the characters. There's 3 or 4 characters. I love the sense of humor of the show the most. There's 3 or 4 characters I really, really like on that show, so I'm gonna get back to it. But right now, I'm doing a really long versions of One Piece reactions for the final, like 8 of them. And that's taking a shit ton of time right now. So once I get past that, I've got 5 more to do. Each one takes almost half a day. I've got five more to do, and then I'll have time to get ahead on everything. Once I'm ahead of everything, I'll be able to add something else. So, which will be when I do those 2 new shows. But yeah, okay, so that's it for the feedback. I told you I'd edited, and what I'd edited so far was almost 2 hours, and now I've been recording for another hour and 10 minutes. So it's time for me to shut the hell up until I do the podcast.